Chapter 214. The more Lang Shiqi walked, the more he felt that something was wrong. The entire inner region was deathly silent, which made him feel extremely strange. If that was all, it would be fine. What made Lang Shiqi even more unacceptable was that he felt that he was about to pass through the inner region, but the treasure-seeking plate was still pointing ahead. If he continued to walk forward, he would enter the central region of the demon miasma mountain range. There were rank 6 monsters inside, which were equivalent to the unity of heaven and man realm experts of the spirit cultivator realm. It was a terrifying existence on the same level as the 9 great netherworld blood cloak assassins of the blood cloak pavilion. In addition, he still remembered the expert who noticed his Byakugan not long ago. In the center of the mountain range, there were probably not only rank 6 monsters, but also experts from the Imperial Beast Camp and the Blood Beast Sect. If the treasure that the treasure-seeking plate pointed to was only in the inner region, Lang Shiqi would still dare to enter to explore. However, it seemed that it was still in the center of the mountain range, so he hesitated. However, just as Lang Shiqi was hesitating, he suddenly discovered an aura in his Byakugan's field of vision. He had seen that aura before. It was the Blood Beast Sect disciple who had appeared when he was secretly observing Cui Jing and his wife. The key was that this aura was weaker than Lang Shiqi's own, only at the 8th level of the spirit transformation realm. Lang Shiqi was puzzled. Blood Beast Sect's people? This person is only at the spirit transformation realm and dares to wander around the border between the inner region and the mountain range? At this moment, Lang Shiqi thought of a plan and immediately sneaked over. Chu Qiu was one of the elite disciples of the Blood Beast Sect. He was already at the 8th level of the spirit transformation realm in his 20s and had a high chance of breaking through to the spirit pulse realm before the age of 30. He was one of the disciples that the sect valued. This time, he had followed the sect to the demon miasma mountain range to carry out an extremely important mission. He was proud of it. However, he was a little bored now. This was because his mission was to patrol the border between the inner region and the center of the mountain range. If he encountered other spirit cultivators, he would do his best to stop them. There were many people like him, and he was only in charge of this area. In his opinion, the beast tide was about to erupt, so who would dare to venture deep into the demonic miasma mountain range at this time? While Chu Qiu was bored to death, he did not realize that a layer of cold air had appeared beneath his feet. By the time he felt a chill, it was already too late. A majestic cold air gushed out from the ground, freezing Chu Qiu before he could even open his mouth to shout. Following that, a pair of hands reached out from the ground and dragged Chu Qiu underground. Naturally, it was Lang Shiqi. After Lang Shiqi caught Chu Qiu by surprise, he didn't dare to delay and quickly dragged Chu Qiu away from this place. During this process, he continued to release cold air to prevent Chu Qiu from breaking out of the ice. Lang Shiqi didn't stop until he was a distance away. At the same time, he didn't continue to release the cold air. Instead, he held the jade sword to Chu Qiu's neck. After a short while, Chu Qiu finally broke free from the ice, but he immediately felt the blade on his neck and was extremely shocked. He was a spirit cultivator at the late stage of the spirit transformation realm, and he thought that his strength was not bad. However, he was actually captured by this old man without anyone noticing. One had to know that the experts of the 4 realms of heaven and man were not far from the center of the mountain range, but he had disappeared without anyone noticing. Now, his life was in the hands of others. Chu Qiu ignored the ice on his face and said hatefully, "Who are you? Do you know my identity?" Lang Shiqi smiled sinisterly and said, "Aren't you just a disciple of the Blood Beast Sect? Since you know, let me go now and you might still have a chance to live. The experts of the sect are nearby, and they will soon notice that I have disappeared. When they find you, I'm afraid you will be fed to the blood beasts." Chu Qiu used the Blood Beast Sect to suppress him. However, Lang Shiqi's hand moved slightly, and the jade sword cut open a bloody mark on Chu Qiu's neck. Chu Qiu's eyes finally revealed a look of fear. He looked at Lang Shiqi's cold expression, and he seemed to know that the other party really dared to kill him. Lang Shiqi really wanted to kill him, and his body even revealed a faint killing intent. He said, "This old man doesn't want to talk nonsense. I'll ask, and you answer. Do you understand? Chu Qiu shuddered inwardly and nodded his head honestly. Leng Shiqi asked, is the change in the demon miasma mountain range related to your blood beast sect? Will there really be a beast tide outbreak? This. Chu Qiu hesitated for a moment, but still said, it was us and the Imperial Beast Camp who worked together to drive the rank 3 demonic beasts from the inner regions to the outer regions, creating the illusion of a beast tide riot. Furthermore, we spread the news in order to expel the spirit cultivators from the mountain range. When Leng Shiqi heard this, he thought that it was indeed the case. There was no beast tide outbreak in the demon miasma mountain range at all. All of this was just as he had thought, it was all the doing of the blood beast sect and the Imperial Beast Camp behind the scenes. At the same time, he also found it strange that the Imperial Beast Camp and the blood beast sect were two completely hostile sects, so why would they work together to set up a trap? He continued to ask, what about the demonic beasts in the inner regions? There are quite a few rank 4 and rank 5 demonic beasts here. Where did they all go? Chu Qiu replied, the rank 4 and rank 5 demonic beasts have already developed some intelligence. They know that danger is coming, so they run and hide. That's why there are no demonic beasts in the inner regions. Danger is coming? Leng Shiqi keenly found this key point. He thought to himself, could it be that the experts of the two top forces have gathered, causing these demonic beasts to escape? However, he felt that things were not that simple, so he asked, danger? What kind of danger would cause the rank 4 and rank 5 demonic beasts to escape? At this time, Chu Qiu opened his mouth and finally said hesitantly, Senior, you already know enough. There are some things that you won't benefit from knowing. Why bother to get to the bottom of it? Leng Shiqi frowned. He quickly formed a seal with his left hand and summoned a blood-colored centipede that was as thick as an arm. The centipede burrowed into Chu Qiu's body. Chu Qiu immediately convulsed in pain, but Leng Shiqi's sword was still on his neck, so he did not dare to move. Just like this, he was in so much pain that his face turned pale and he even foamed at the mouth. Leng Shiqi saw that it was about time. He changed his seal and temporarily calmed the centipede curse, but Chu Qiu's body was still convulsing. After a while, he slowly recovered. Leng Shiqi said coldly, remember, I'm the one asking you. If you don't want all your meridians to be bitten and die in endless pain, tell me everything you know. Chu Qiu panted a few times and nodded heavily. Tell me, what is the purpose of you and the Imperial Beast Camp coming to the demonic miasma mountain range? Chu Qiu weakly said something that shocked Leng Shiqi. He also understood why the Imperial Beast Camp and the Blood Beast sect had joined forces for the first time. Chapter 2:15. What Chu Qiu said was, in the center of the mountain range, there is a rank 6 monster beast that may undergo tribulation at any time. Rank 6 monster beast. Tribulation? Transformation? Chu Qiu's short sentence set off a huge wave in Leng Shiqi's heart. A rank 6 monster beast was already equivalent to a spirit cultivator at the unity of heaven and man realm. If it went any higher, wouldn't it be equivalent to a cultivator who had transcended the 4 realms of heaven and man? But what he didn't know before was that a rank 6 monster beast had to undergo tribulation to break through. Leng Shiqi was no stranger to the term tribulation, but he didn't expect there to be one in this world. And if a rank 6 monster beast successfully underwent tribulation, it would be recognized by heaven and earth and become a rank 7 monster beast. A rank 7 monster beast that could transform into a human. And the goal of the Imperial Beast Abode and Blood Beast sect was obviously this rank 6 monster beast that was about to undergo tribulation. These two sects were famous for their beast taming techniques. If this rank 6 monster beast successfully underwent tribulation, then it was very likely that they would capture it for their own use. After a monster beast underwent tribulation, there would be a period of weakness. The two sects had sent out so many experts, it seemed like they were determined to get it. So this is the real goal of the two top forces. Leng Shiqi finally understood everything. After understanding the whole story, Leng Shiqi asked some questions about himself. You, an 8th level spirit transformation realm cultivator, can safely wander around the center of the mountain range. Did you chase away all the monsters in the center? Chu Qiu answered honestly, actually, not really. The rank 6 monster beast that is undergoing tribulation is an extremely rare species, the soul-leaving scorpion. Its aura has already been locked onto by the tribulation, but we don't know when it will descend. The other rank 6 monsters have already sensed the aura of the tribulation and ran further away. So now, not only the inner area, there are no other monsters in the center of the mountain range. Because of this, there is actually no danger here. Our people and the Imperial Beast Abode are patrolling the border between the inner area and the center of the mountain range. Leng Shiqi nodded in understanding. At the same time, he felt a little unlucky. The treasure-seeking compass must have pointed to the center of the mountain range, but now that there were so many experts gathered there, even if he had strange means, he would be easily discovered. He was wondering if he should wait until everything was over and take advantage of the fact that the other high-level demonic beasts had not returned to search for treasures. But at this moment, a thunderous roar suddenly resounded in the sky. Leng Shiqi's expression suddenly changed. He dragged Chu Qiu to the ground and looked up. They were still in the inner area of the demonic miasma mountain range. The sky here was originally filled with a faint miasma, but at this moment, the miasma in the sky had suddenly disappeared completely. It was as if it had been completely dispelled by that bolt of lightning. However, the mountain range did not become brighter. Instead, it became even darker. This was because boundless black clouds had appeared in the sky. These black clouds gave off an extremely terrifying oppressive feeling, causing Leng Shiqi to feel a little breathless. Chu Qiu was shocked. He stammered, "TT Heavenly Tribulation. This is the Heavenly Tribulation?" "No, this is just the precursor of the Heavenly Tribulation. I'm afraid that the soul-defying scorpion will undergo the tribulation in a day or two," Chu Qiu said with a trembling voice. Leng Shiqi turned to look at him. This Chu Qiu seemed to know a lot. In fact, what Leng Shiqi did not know was that these things were also recorded in detail in the Blood Clothing Pavilion, but he had never seen them. Chu Qiu said, "Senior, I've told you everything you want to know. Now that the Heavenly Tribulation is about to arrive, it proves that what I said is true. In order to avoid being affected by the Heavenly Tribulation, the experts of the sect will definitely retreat and soon find that I'm missing. Senior, if you let me go now, I will definitely keep my mouth shut. I will not say a word about what happened today." Leng Shiqi looked at Chu Qiu, and a thought flashed through his mind. He said, "Okay, as long as you hand over the Beast Essence demonic method, I can let you go." The Beast Essence demonic method that Leng Shiqi cultivated was incomplete. Now that he had a disciple of the Blood Beast sect in his hands, he could ask for the rest of the method. Chu Qiu was shocked when he heard this, and his face instantly sank. "Senior, the Beast Essence demonic method is not something that can be cultivated by just anyone in the sect. For example, in our generation, only Zhuo Duanya has cultivated this method. Moreover, the method in the sect is strictly forbidden to be spread to outsiders, otherwise it will become nourishment for the blood fiends. Moreover, even if I give it to you, once you are recognized to have used the Beast Essence demonic method, you will inevitably be hunted down by the sect." When Leng Shiqi heard this, he felt that Chu Qiu did not seem to be lying and felt that it was a pity. He could not help but think of the evil young man who captured Shui Jing and his wife as a guide. He should be the Zhuo Duanya that Chu Qiu mentioned. Just hearing this name made him think of Zhuo Laogui in the space under the Blood Fog Island. His Beast Essence demonic destruction technique was obtained from him. Was there some sort of relationship between Zhuo Duanya and Zhuo Duanya? However, Leng Shiqi did not have time to think too much at this time, because in the Byakugan's vision, he did see several people with auras much stronger than him walking towards the inner area. They should be people from the Blood Beast sect or the Imperial Beast camp. Leng Shiqi knew that he could not stay here for long. The jade sword in his hand moved, and like a long river, the sword cut off Chu Qiu's head. He did not want to be hunted down by a top force like the Blood Beast sect in the future. Of course, he could not leave anyone alive. After Chu Qiu died, Ling Shiqi saw a light green ball of light float out of his body. He gently waved his hand, and the green ball of light floated over and entered his body. Ling Shiqi knew that this was the effect of the passive skill, Hell's Curse. After he absorbed the ball of light, he immediately felt that his spiritual power had increased slightly. His physical strength had also increased, but the increase was very small. Even so, he was very satisfied. He was only curious whether the soul he absorbed was Chu Chio's soul, but he could not verify it. After that, Ling Shiqi searched Chu Chio's body and buried it underground. He quickly left this place, far away from the people of the two sections. 2 days later, the heavenly tribulation descended. Ling Shiqi even retreated to the edge of the inner area, but he could still clearly feel the terrifying aura that was so strong that it made his heart palpitate. He looked up at the sky. At this time, the demonic miasma mountain range was completely covered with rolling black clouds, covering the sky. He also wanted to see what the legendary heavenly tribulation looked like. The disciples of the other two sects dared to stay here, so the heavenly tribulation would probably not affect them. Not long after, a few faint sounds of thunder came from the black clouds. The sound was not very loud, but it was intimidating. There was a kind of majesty that could not be offended. Gradually, the sound of thunder in the black clouds became more and more frequent. There were even a few dark purple lightning flashes occasionally. The lightning and thunder slowly gathered in the center of the mountain range. The black clouds there also formed a vortex, as if the heavenly punishment would descend at any time. And under the center of the black cloud vortex, there was a small mountain peak towering. On the peak of the mountain, there was a purple-black giant scorpion. It was the rank 6 demonic beast that was about to undergo the heavenly tribulation, the soul-departing scorpion. At this time, the soul-departing scorpion's purple eyes stared at the center of the black cloud vortex without any fear in its eyes. Chapter 2:16. The soul-departing scorpion showed no fear under the heavenly tribulation. Instead, it burst out with a soaring fighting spirit. Boom! The heavenly tribulation seemed to be dissatisfied with the soul-departing scorpion's actions, and without warning, a dark blue lightning as thick as an arm fell. Although this lightning bolt was small, Ling Shiqi could see it clearly even though he was standing far away. Just when the lightning fell, Ling Shiqi actually had an impulse to kneel to the sky. The dark blue lightning accurately struck the soul-departing scorpion, causing it to reveal a strange pain in its purple eyes. At the same time, its whole body rolled and emitted purple light. The purple light and the dark blue lightning reflected each other, appearing incomparably mysterious. The purple light on the soul-departing scorpion gradually dimmed, and the lightning also dissipated. This heavenly tribulation, the soul-departing scorpion safely passed. Ling Shiqi couldn't see the specific situation, but he saw that the lightning began to condense in the black clouds again, and he knew that the soul-departing scorpion should have passed the first level. After a few seconds, kacha, 2 lightning bolts fell at the same time. The lightning almost illuminated the entire center and inner area of the mountain range. The soul-departing scorpion once again bloomed purple light, but now the purple light was much dimmer than before. How could it resist 2 lightning bolts? Sure enough, under these 2 lightning bolts, the soul-departing scorpion's skin was immediately split open. In some places, its bones could even be seen. However, the fighting spirit in the soul-departing scorpion's eyes did not decrease at all, but continued to increase. The third heavenly thunder began to brew in the sky. This was the last heavenly thunder, and also the most terrifying heavenly thunder. It was unknown how many 6th-level demonic beasts had fallen under this last heavenly thunder. The lightning in the center of the black clouds became more dense, and countless lightning bolts merged together into a black lightning. Immediately, a huge black lightning bolt as thick as a tree fell from the sky. As soon as the black lightning appeared, it actually made Ling Shiqi's mind shake, and the soul-departing scorpion opened its mouth and spat out a gorgeous purple pattern monster core. That was the life source demon core of the soul-departing scorpion. The real name monster core formed a purple light shield above its head. Under the tyrannical black lightning, this light shield only lasted for a few breaths of time before it was broken. Fortunately, the protective shield of this life source monster core was not useless. In just a few short breaths of time, it had worn away half of the soul-leaving scorpion's lightning energy. Following that, the soul-departing scorpion no longer had any other means, and it had also reached the most critical moment. The remaining pitch-black lightning struck directly on the soul-departing scorpion's body, completely enveloping it in a black lightning prison, enduring endless torment. Under the lightning, the soul-departing scorpion could only struggle its body. However, the extent of its struggle became smaller and smaller, only revealing a badly mutilated body. When the last strand of black lightning was exhausted, the dark clouds in the sky suddenly dissipated into nothingness, as if they had never appeared. A rarely seen light appeared in the entire demonic miasma mountain range. The heavenly tribulation was over. However, did the soul-departing scorpion survive the heavenly tribulation? Leng Shiqi immediately opened his Byakugan. He found that the people from the Imperial Beast Camp and the Blood Beast sect were all rushing to the center of the mountain range. Leng Shiqi's eyes flashed with a trace of ruthlessness, and he also ran towards the center of the mountain range. Amongst all of them, there were two people who were the fastest, and both of them were flying through the air. One of them was a middle-aged man with white hair but a mustache. He was the elder Xia who had noticed Leng Shiqi's Byakugan. That was the great elder of the Blood Beast sect, a powerful spirit cultivator who surpassed the four realms of heaven, Xia Pengyu. The other person was one of the three great beast kings of the Imperial Beast Camp, the thousand-legged beast king, Nan Men-yun. The two of them directly turned into two streams of light and arrived at the place where the soul-departing scorpion was undergoing its tribulation at a speed that was difficult for everyone to reach. When they saw that the soul-departing scorpion was only left with a pool of flesh and blood, they revealed a look of disappointment. Nan Men-yun sighed slightly. Did it fail? What a pity. Fake mercy, I want the remains of the soul-departing scorpion. Xia Pengyu took a step forward and arrived in front of the soul-departing scorpion. Just as Xia Pengyu was about to collect its remains, a weak purple light suddenly bloomed. Immediately after, the purple light became more and more dense. In the blink of an eye, it formed a purple cocoon that wrapped around the soul-departing scorpion. Nan Men-yun exclaimed, it succeeded. Get lost. Nan Men-yun formed a strange spirit seal with both hands, and immediately, a huge centipede shadow that was dozens of feet tall suddenly soared into the sky behind him. A terrifying surge of spiritual energy surged out. The centipede had tens of thousands of sharp claws, and each claw was condensed with a little bit of spirit light. In an instant, thousands of laser-like spirit energy shot out in all directions. Xia Pengyu growled and actually let out a demonic roar. A boundless blood river suddenly appeared around him. The blood river swept and flowed continuously, blocking most of the spirit light. And in the blood river, two huge arms stretched out from nowhere. The arms swung down and directly scattered the remaining spirit light. The soul-departing scorpion had successfully passed its tribulation and was in the process of transforming. Now was the time for them to fight. The blood river flowed around Xia Pengyu, and in the blood river, there was a fierce giant beast. He coldly said, "Old man, the soul-departing scorpion hasn't transformed yet, and you're already attacking. Aren't you being too hasty?" The 1,000-feet centipede behind Nan Men-yun stood upright. It opened its mouth and began to spit out clouds, causing the entire mountain range to be filled with a mortal fog. Nan Men-yun sneered, since the soul-departing scorpion has successfully passed its tribulation, it's only a matter of time before it transforms. At the very least, it will be treated as a guardian spirit beast in my imperial beast abode. It's better than being peeled open and studied by executioners like you. The two great sects had been enemies for many years. The reason for their hostility was that their cultivation philosophies were completely opposite. The two of them were at the top of their sections. They had been fighting each other for many years, so they naturally didn't have anything good to say. The two of them didn't even finish their words before they started fighting again. The battle between them could be said to be earth-shattering. The void twisted, and the entire mountain range shook. The mountain where the soul-departing scorpion was transcending its tribulation was razed to the ground. However, they were carefully controlling their power and didn't hurt the purple cocoon at all. While they were fighting, the experts and disciples of the two great sects also rushed over. When they saw that Nan Men Yun and Xia Pengyu had started fighting, they also started fighting one after another. They weren't worried that both sides would be injured and that the soul-departing scorpion would escape. This was because both Nan Men Yun and Xia Pengyu could easily suppress the newly transformed soul-departing scorpion. For a moment, the center of the demonic miasma mountain range was filled with countless terrifying spirit force fluctuations. However, they didn't notice that a figure was quietly approaching. Chapter 217. This person was, of course, Ling Shiqi. He saw the destructive battle between Nan Men Yun and Xia Pengyu from afar, and his heart was filled with mixed feelings. He was certain that if he was even slightly touched by the aftermath of that battle, he would immediately be crushed into powder. He was fearful of that kind of power, but he also yearned for it. He hoped that one day, he would also have such power. However, the most important thing for him now was to take advantage of the chaos to obtain the treasure. Ling Shiqi took out the treasure-seeking compass. The purple light on the compass immediately formed an arrow and pointed in a certain direction. He looked in that direction and was so shocked that he almost bit his tongue. No matter how good Ling Shiqi's mentality was, he actually wanted to curse at this moment. He even wanted to smash the broken compass in his hand. Because the treasure-seeking compass was pointing at the purple cocoon that the soul-departing scorpion had transformed into. It seems that the treasure-seeking compass has always been pointing at the soul-departing scorpion. The Blood Beast sect and the Imperial Beast camp, these two top sects, obviously covet the treasure. But how can I obtain the treasure from the experts of these two sects? This treasure-seeking compass is too deceitful. Ling Shiqi was really flustered and exasperated. He had been careful and vigilant these past few days. Now, he even took the risk to enter the center of the mountain range. He was not here to snatch the treasure from the two sections. Sigh. After a while, Ling Shiqi faintly sighed. This time, he admitted defeat. He wasted a few days for nothing. Just as he was about to return to the demon-suppressing town to think of a way, the purple cocoon suddenly changed. Suddenly, a crack appeared on the surface of the cocoon. Immediately after, ka. More and more cracks appeared. Even Nan Men Yun and Xia Pengyu stopped at this moment. Everyone's gaze fell on the purple cocoon. They knew that the soul-departing scorpion had successfully transformed. With a bang, the purple silkworm cocoon suddenly exploded, and a blurry figure appeared inside. However, the purple fragments that exploded did not scatter. Instead, they gathered around the figure and condensed into a gorgeous purple dress. At this moment, a beautiful woman appeared in front of everyone. Her figure was exquisite and her face was enchanting and charming. The purple dress added a bit of luxury to her. Especially her pair of purple eyes, they were even more breathtaking. This was a stunner that could make countless people fall head over heels for her and lose their souls. Some of the younger disciples only glanced at her once before their eyes went blank, completely unaware of it. She was a rank 7 shape-shifting greater demon, the soul-departing scorpion. Even the 1,000-legged beast king, Nan Men Yun, was stunned. He said, "Soul-leaving scorpion, it's not easy for you to transform. Come back to the Imperial Beast House with me. This king will grant you the position of Sect Guardian Spirit Beast. Your position in the sect will be second only to the 3 Beast Kings." Xia Pengyu looked at the soul-departing scorpion with a greedy expression. However, he wasn't greedy for the scorpion's appearance. Instead, he wanted to study what a great Yao looked like. He continued, "Don't listen to his nonsense. The Imperial Beast Abode is just using a formation to imprison you under the mountain gate forever. You have to guard the sect for generations to come. This is a fate worse than death. Now that you are a great demon, you should understand that it is as difficult as ascending to the heavens for the Demon Beast clan to advance further. If you join our Blood Beast sect, we can help you break through to the 8th step." The two of them didn't make a move immediately. They both wanted to obtain the soul-departing scorpion, but if they could persuade her, wouldn't it save them a lot of effort? The soul-departing scorpion's purple eyes turned slightly. Her red lips slightly opened. Nan Men Yun and Xia Pengyu thought that she was going to say something. Unexpectedly, the soul-departing scorpion suddenly let out a sharp and ear-piercing sound. That sound instantly enveloped the entire center of the mountain range. Everyone was stunned. The spirit transformation stage disciples of the two great sects swayed and fell to the ground. The spirit cultivators of the fourth realm of Heaven realm were not having a good time either. They all covered their ears in pain, but it was useless. Leng Shiqi was the furthest away, but he was also affected by the screams. His mind was suddenly filled with turbulent waves, and he vaguely felt that his soul was about to be forcibly dragged out of his body. With a thought, Leng Shiqi used a pure spiritual force between his eyebrows to wrap around himself. Only then was he able to slightly block a portion of the sound waves. At the same time, a light green shadow floated out from the bodies of the fallen spirit transformation stage disciples. Those shadows quickly gathered and finally drilled into the mouth of the soul-departing scorpion. He exclaimed inwardly, "Is that the real soul?" The soul-departing scorpion really lives up to its reputation. Not only them, even Nan Men Yun and Xia Pengyu were caught off guard and almost fell for it. Xia Pengyu's face darkened as he shouted sternly, "You refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. It's the same when this old man cripples you and drags you back." Nan Men Yun also said, "Stubborn." At this moment, the two experts reached out to grab the soul-departing scorpion at the same time. Xia Pengyu waved his hand, and a boundless blood river appeared. For a moment, blood qi soared into the sky. A strange giant beast that was 200 feet tall walked out from the blood river. The four limbs of the giant beast were different, as if they were pieced together by different demonic beasts. There was also a pair of giant blood-colored wings on its back. Nan Men Yun tapped his foot lightly and leaped into the air, landing on the head of the thousand-legged centipede. The man and beast were surrounded by clouds, but the dreamy clouds were filled with destructive killing intent. The soul-departing scorpion let out a soft burp. Then a purple light surrounded its body and it turned into a ray of purple light that broke through the sky. "Humph, still want to escape? Just give up." Nan Men Yun and Xia Pengyu tried to stop it, but who would have thought that the purple light would be so powerful? It tore through Xia Pengyu and the blood river, breaking through Nan Men Yun's clouds. The two of them knew that the soul-departing scorpion was good at capturing souls, but they didn't expect it to be so fast after transforming. In a moment of carelessness, the soul-departing scorpion broke through their encirclement. The two of them immediately brought their spirit beasts and blood beasts to chase after it. If they really let the soul-departing scorpion escape today, their old faces would be completely lost. Once they left, the remaining spirit cultivators of the four realms of heaven and earth started to fight again. They were already mortal enemies, and they had lost their disciples of the spirit transformation realm just now, so their attacks were even more ruthless. When Leng Shiqi saw that they had left with the soul-departing scorpion, he relaxed. He was also prepared to leave, but when he looked down, he couldn't help but be stunned. The direction pointed by the treasure-seeking plate in his hand still hadn't changed. That's not right, the soul-departing scorpion has already flown away, so the treasure-seeking plate is pointing at is not the soul-departing scorpion, but something else. Leng Shiqi activated his supercilious eyes and looked in the direction the treasure-seeking plate was pointing at. Chapter 218. Leng Shiqi used his Byakugan to immediately see that there was something below the soul-departing scorpion. Deep underground, there was a strange ball of spirit energy. In his Byakugan, spirit cultivators and demon beast spirit energy were all blue, but the ball of spirit energy underground was actually green. The strength of the green spirit energy was not weaker than Xia Pengyu, and it was obvious that it was not a living thing. Leng Shiqi felt that it was strange. How could a non-living thing contain such terrifying spirit energy? Other than this thing, there was also an aura weaker than him. It seemed to be a rank 2 demon beast. That ball of green spirit energy should be the treasure that the treasure-seeking compass is referring to. Leng Shiqi quietly observed the battle between the two great sections. These people were all at the fourth realm of Sky Man, and the momentum of the battle was extremely huge. Especially the few great experts at the Unity of Heaven-Man realm, their fight caused the center of the mountain to shake. Leng Shiqi sank deep into the ground, and then went around half a circle, bypassing the fighting spirit cultivators to explore the treasure. After a while, Leng Shiqi's feet suddenly became empty. He suddenly discovered that there was actually a dark cave hidden underground. As soon as he entered the cave, he immediately smelled a faint stench, but he did not care, because the treasure that the treasure-seeking compass pointed to was not far from him. Leng Shiqi turned 2 corners and came to a slightly more open area. Before he got close, he could see a green light flickering. He walked forward and saw a diamond-shaped green crystal that was half the height of a person floating in the air. The green light was emitted from this crystal. Leng Shiqi felt a familiar aura from this green crystal, and after the green light entered his body, it actually resonated with the beast origin battle marks on his body. It's definitely something good. And beside the crystal, there was a palm-sized scorpion. Leng Shiqi knew that this was the rank 2 demon beast. He opened his palm and condensed a large amount of cold chi to temporarily freeze the small scorpion, but he did not kill it yet. That was because his top priority was to get that crystal first. However, when he approached the green crystal, the crystal suddenly emitted a dazzling green light. This green light was so strong that it sent Leng Shiqi flying. Boom! Leng Shiqi slammed into the stone wall behind him. He wasn't hurt, but he knew that the green crystal wouldn't be easy to collect. If he wanted to collect the crystals, he could either store them in his mustard seed bag or store them in the system space. Leng Shiqi reckoned that this thing was not ordinary. His mustard seed bag might not be able to withstand it, and for safety reasons, it was best to directly store it in the system space. However, in order to store it in the system space, he had to touch the crystal with both hands. Immediately, Leng Shiqi gritted his teeth, and his bones cracked. His body grew several times larger in the blink of an eye, and at the same time, a set of reddish-brown armor appeared on his body. His body arched slightly, and then he shot out like an arrow leaving the bow. In the blink of an eye, he arrived in front of the green crystal. He reached out his hands to grab the crystal, but the crystal emitted a green light again. Strangely enough, the green light didn't send him flying this time. Instead, it wrapped him up gently like cotton. Leng Shiqi felt his whole body warm up, and the green light seeped into his body. Some of the green light merged into his flesh, and some of it went into his spiritual space. At this time, Leng Shiqi did not have time to carefully understand whether the green light was beneficial or harmful to him, because his hands had already touched the green crystal. Then, with a thought, the green crystal disappeared and was stored in the system space. Success. Phew. Leng Shiqi sighed softly. Although he did not know what this crystal was used for, he had finally obtained this treasure. He would have time to slowly study it in the future. Just as Leng Shiqi was about to kill the little scorpion next to him and leave, he suddenly felt a chill on his back, and he secretly shivered. At this moment, an enchanting and charming woman appeared behind him. That woman's pair of emotionless purple eyes stared at Leng Shiqi. She was the soul-leaving scorpion. However, at this time, the soul-leaving scorpion's body was clearly injured, and there was a trace of blood at the corner of her mouth. Leng Shiqi's body stiffened. He turned his head around with difficulty. When he saw this woman, his mind exploded with a buzzing sound, causing his mind to go blank and his soul to leave his body. The soul-leaving scorpion's eyes moved, and a brilliant purple light bloomed. Leng Shiqi only felt his vision blur, and then he found that he could not move his body. Then, a seductive voice sounded in his ears. Human boy has demon blood in his body. It seems that he has also cultivated a technique to devour demon beasts. This was the first time Leng Shiqi hated the demon beast essence technique so much. He wanted to struggle before death, but now he did not even have the ability to open his mouth. The soul-leaving scorpion walked in front of Leng Shiqi's face, and stretched out a finger to poke his face, with a look of interest in her eyes. That beautiful face was in front of Leng Shiqi, but he only felt fear in his heart. However, he did not give up and quickly looked for a way to escape. At this time, the soul-leaving scorpion did not kill him, which meant that he still had some value. You can actually collect the Heaven Demon Soul Crystal. That's strange, but it's good. Leng Shiqi did not know what she meant by, it's good, but he knew that the soul-leaving scorpion was probably going to attack him. The soul-leaving scorpion forced a drop of blood from her fingertip, and then she used the blood to draw a complicated and strange pattern in the air. The soul-leaving scorpion murmured, "It's your good fortune to be implanted with a demon slave blood contract and become my slave." Leng Shiqi was shocked when he heard this. If he was really implanted with this demon slave blood contract, he was afraid that he would be enslaved by the soul-leaving scorpion for the rest of his life. However, he did not have any way to stop it. In the end, he was still too weak. The soul-leaving scorpion's jade finger gently pointed, and the blood contract was imprinted on Leng Shiqi's body. Then he felt a strange energy pour into his countless blood, and even a trace of it entered his spiritual space. Leng Shiqi was like a fish on the chopping board, at the mercy of the soul-leaving scorpion. However, to the surprise of Leng Shiqi and the soul-leaving scorpion, after a while, nothing strange happened to Leng Shiqi. That power was like a clay ox entering the sea, disappearing without a trace. Even the soul-leaving scorpion, a great demon beast, was stunned. Failed? How is that possible? The soul-leaving scorpion directly grabbed Leng Shiqi, and the purple light in her eyes seemed to see through him. Who are you? Chapter 219. The soul-departing scorpion grabbed Leng Shiqi's neck and asked coldly, "Only those whose bloodline is not below mine can't plant a demon slave blood contract. Who are you?" Leng Shiqi was also confused, but he knew that this was a good thing. After all, he had escaped a disaster. At this moment, he suddenly remembered that the system information had always shown that he had a bloodline, but the bloodline showed a question mark. Leng Shiqi had guessed before that his bloodline might be beyond the scope of the system's knowledge. Connecting it to what the soul-departing scorpion said, he was even more convinced that his body must have a bloodline no weaker than the soul-departing scorpion. The soul-departing scorpion was an extremely rare and noble bloodline among monsters. It was born as a rank 2 monster, equivalent to a spirit cultivator at the spirit transformation realm. After it grew to maturity, it would naturally become a rank 6 monster. It could be said that any adult soul-departing scorpion had strength comparable to the unity of heaven and man realm. That was why the people of the Imperial Beast House and the Blood Beast sect valued the soul-departing scorpion so much. When they learned that there was a soul-departing scorpion in the depths of the demon miasma mountain range that was about to undergo tribulation, they rushed over. Now, Leng Shiqi was sincerely grateful to the original owner of this body. If not for this, he would have already become a slave of the soul-departing scorpion. His life and death were in the hands of others at all times. It was really worse than death. "Human, if you don't want to die, listen to me," the soul-departing scorpion said again. Leng Shiqi couldn't move at all. He could only barely move his eyelids. "Since you can hide from everyone and come here, you must have a way to leave quietly, right?" Leng Shiqi felt that his head had some feeling, but he couldn't speak, so he could only nod. "Very good." After the soul-departing scorpion finished speaking, another drop of blood appeared on its fingertip. It began to draw the blood pattern again, but this time the pattern was completely different from the last time. "This is an equal blood contract. Although your strength is low, your bloodline is very noble. It is not a disgrace to me." The pattern split into 2 in midair and entered the bodies of the Leng Shiqi and the soul-leaving scorpion respectively. Immediately, Leng Shiqi felt a tearing pain in his head. It was as if his soul was being torn in half. At the same time, the soul-leaving scorpion's face also showed a painful expression. Then, 2 finger-thick green light beams flew out from between their eyebrows and flew into each other's eyebrows. The soul-departing scorpion said, "Now that you and I have formed a blood contract, we each control a part of the other's soul. We cannot harm each other, or we will lose this part of our soul forever. If you lose a part of your soul, not only will it be difficult to improve your cultivation, you won't even have the qualifications to enter the cycle of reincarnation." At this moment, Leng Shiqi finally regained his senses. When he heard these words, he finally heaved a sigh of relief. Not to mention other things, at least he survived and did not need to be controlled by others. But he was still slightly unable to wrap his head around it. Logically speaking, with his measly cultivation, he utterly didn't have the slightest room to resist before the soul-leaving scorpion. Judging from her previous question, she seemed to want to use Ling Shiqi to help her escape from here. The soul-leaving scorpion could use countless methods to force him to do this. Why beat around the bush? Besides, Ling Shiqi didn't think he had the ability to hide from Nanmen Yun and Xia Pengyu to save the soul-leaving scorpion. Then, without seeing the soul-leaving scorpion make any movements, Ling Shiqi felt that his body could move again. He immediately deactivated the Beast Yuan battle pattern and returned to his original appearance. The Beast Yuan battle pattern of the rank 3 Red Crag Beast was still too taxing on him. And even if he activated the Beast Yuan battle pattern, it would have no effect in front of the soul-leaving scorpion, so he simply deactivated it. The soul-leaving scorpion ignored him. Instead, countless sharp purple lights bloomed from her palm and entered her body. She stretched out her hand again and the little scorpion that was originally frozen by Ling Shiqi instantly melted the ice layer and flew in front of the soul-leaving scorpion, facing her. Ling Shiqi didn't know what the soul-leaving scorpion was going to do. He only knew that he would be fine as long as he stayed put. Then the soul-leaving scorpion opened her red lips and spat out a purple pattern monster core. That was her life source monster core. It was now a rank 7 monster core. The life source monster core immediately cast a faint light curtain that enveloped her and the little scorpion. Then the little scorpion also spat out a small monster core, but this monster core was indeed very dim. In Ling Shiqi's eyes, he clearly saw a green shadow emerge from the soul-leaving scorpion and the little scorpion. The shadow of the soul-leaving scorpion was very similar to her original body, while the little scorpion was just a small green ball of light. Then something that surprised Ling Shiqi happened. The shadow of the soul-leaving scorpion actually drilled into the little scorpion's body, and the small green ball of light sank into the transformed body of the soul-leaving scorpion. Then the little scorpion opened its mouth and swallowed the gorgeous purple pattern monster core, and the remaining dim little monster core was sent into the mouth of the soul-leaving scorpion. Ling Shiqi's eyes flashed a few rays of light. Chapter 220. Deep underground in the center of the mountain range, Ling Shiqi continued to drill forward, but he was still dissatisfied. The soul-departing scorpion said, "Can't you go faster?" Ling Shiqi opened his mouth. He didn't know what to call the soul-departing scorpion, so he could only say, "Senior, this is already Junior's fastest speed. Once we avoid the spirit cultivators above and return to the ground, it will be faster. Forget it. Since you and I have signed an equal blood contract, I will lend you some strength." As the soul-departing scorpion spoke, it spat out a purple mist from its mouth. Ling Shiqi inadvertently sucked it in, and his body was surrounded by waves of purple light, and his aura continued to soar. Under this, his speed was more than 3 times faster. Ling Shiqi was familiar with this feeling. After all, when he was possessed by the demon spirit, he had borrowed the power of the demon spirit. However, he was still a little worried and asked, "Senior, will this attract the attention of those two?" The soul-departing scorpion climbed onto Ling Shiqi's shoulder and said, "You are quite cautious. Don't worry, they won't have time soon." Ling Shiqi was a little confused, but he didn't dare to ask more. At this moment, he suddenly felt a monstrous wave of spirit energy coming from behind him. He was clearly deep underground, but he could clearly feel the earth trembling, and there was a heaven-shaking sound in his ears. If he was on the ground, he would be able to see a purple mushroom cloud rising from the center of the mountain range. With the soul-departing scorpion's body as the center, the raging purple cloud spread out. Everywhere it passed, everything was razed to the ground. The mountain peaks collapsed, the earth dragons turned over, and the explosion was like a heavenly punishment that almost overturned the entire center of the mountain range. Ling Shiqi activated his supercilious eyes, and only then did he realize that there were not many of the 4 realms of heaven and man experts left. Fortunately, his speed had increased explosively earlier, allowing him to run to the periphery of the central region. Since he was deep underground, he had not been affected by the shock waves. What is that? The soul-departing scorpion said viciously, that is my original body's self-destruction. Ling Shiqi didn't know what to say anymore. There was only shock in his heart. The self-destruction of a rank 7 great demon. No wonder there was such a terrifying destructive power. Humph, Nan Men Yun of the Imperial Beast Abode and Xia Pengyu of the Blood Beast Sect. You've ruined my hundreds of years of cultivation. Sooner or later, I'll make you pay back 100-fold. This is just a small gift. Ling Shiqi could clearly feel the soul-departing scorpion soaring hatred, even calling out the word, old mother. However, he was also a little impressed by the soul-departing scorpion's courage. To be able to decisively self-destruct his own great demon body, this kind of courage was really something that ordinary people did not have. Although he was shocked and impressed, his speed did not decrease in the slightest. Now, those experts of the 4 realms of heaven and earth had suffered heavy casualties from the self-detonation of the soul-departing scorpion. Even Nan Men Yun and Xia Pengyu were probably not having a good time. They couldn't even take care of themselves right now, much less carefully investigate the aura. Ling Shiqi tried his best to drill into the inner area. When he completely reached the inner area, Ling Shiqi directly returned to the ground. He stepped on a faint purple cloud, his body like cotton floating in the wind. It looked like he was floating slowly, but every time he moved, he would move dozens of feet away. Ling Shiqi did not care about the changes behind him. He sped forward silently. When the purple cloud in his body was exhausted, he had already run to the border between the inner area and the outer area. At this time, his speed suddenly slowed down. The soul-departing scorpion said, "We finally got rid of those 2 old ghosts for the time being. However, your body more or less has a trace of my aura. Just in case, it's better to run as far as possible." Ling Shiqi's footsteps still did not stop. However, without the support of the soul-departing scorpion's power, his speed was clearly not as fast as before. After all, his spirit steps was a movement-type spirit technique that was more useful in battle, and not a light body-type spirit technique that focused on speed. After running like this for about an hour, they finally reached the outer area of the demonic Miasma mountain range. Ling Shiqi panted and stopped using ghost walk and spirit steps because he only had less than 20% of his spirit power left. He hurriedly swallowed 2 spirit chi recovery pills and panted, "Senior, it's far enough." The soul-departing scorpion said, "Yes, rest for a while. They came here to capture me." The self-destruction of my physical body in front of them completely cut off their thoughts. Next, they might directly return to the sect. Ling Shiqi heard this and sank into the ground to recover his spirit power. The soul-departing scorpion said, "Human, what is your name?" "Junior is Ling Shiqi." "Ling Shiqi, I don't know how you found the Heaven Fiend's soul crystal, nor do I know how you collected it. But I have to admit, if it wasn't for you, even if my soul switched bodies, I wouldn't have been able to escape. But if you didn't meet me, you would also have died under my self-destruction. You and I both saved each other's lives, so we don't owe each other anything. Now that you and I have signed an equal blood contract, I will tell you the truth. In the future, I need you to help me recover my strength. If you have any conditions, just say it." Junior doesn't dare. It is Junior's honor to serve Senior. "Humph, you humans have always been so hypocritical, unlike us fiends. If you help me, I will naturally help you. Of course, if you don't say it, then forget it." Ling Shiqi could only awkwardly say, "Senior, Junior does have a headache right now and wants to ask Senior for advice." What he wanted the most now was to break through to the spirit pulse realm as soon as possible. With the soul-departing scorpion that had lived for hundreds of years, there should be a way. The soul-departing scorpion said, "Don't call me Senior or Junior, it makes me confused. My name is Nine Leave. Right now, I am only a rank 2 fiend. You and I can be equals. Before 9 Leave, is there a way for me to break through to the spirit pulse realm in a short time?" 9 Leave's bean-sized eyes stared at Ling Shiqi carefully. She continued, the biggest problem with your cultivation is that it is not pure enough. If you slowly polish it, you won't be able to break through in a few years, let alone a short time. Although Leng Shiqi already knew this, he couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. Nine Leaves' tone changed again. But it's not that there is no way. I remember that there is an old ferret with a spirit spring. He has been tinkering with the spirit spring all these years. If you can refine spirit power in that spirit spring, you will only need a few days to sublimate your sea of qi into a spirit sea. Spirit spring? Leng Shiqi once read in a book that when the spirit qi of heaven and earth was condensed to the extreme, it would become a drop of spirit liquid. Countless drops of spirit liquid gathered together to form a spirit spring. But according to what he knew, there were only a few spirit springs in the Thunderblaze dynasty. He didn't expect there to be one in the demonic Miasma mountain range. Nine Leaves said, if you want to cultivate in that spirit spring, it will be a little troublesome. I can help you think of a way. But I also need a large amount of beast cores to recover my cultivation. You have to get them for me after this. Leng Shiqi nodded deeply. Deal. Chapter 221. Nine Leaves said, that old sable's lair is also in the center of the mountain range. Let's hide in the periphery for 2 days and wait for the Imperial Beast Camp and Blood Beast Sect people to leave. Leng Shiqi hesitated. Will that old sable be back in 2 days? Humph, that old sable is very sly. If I was still a rank 6 monster, I might borrow his spirit spring for a few days and he might give me face. If I was a rank 7 monster, would just snatch it. Unfortunately, I'm only a rank 2 monster. But with my understanding of him, he will definitely wait for everything to settle before returning. However, he might catch some rank 3 monsters to help him guard the spirit spring. That's troublesome. Rank 3 monsters. Leng Shiqi's heart sank. Nine Leaves said, don't worry, I will help you control those rank 3 monsters, but it won't be for long. How much spirit energy you can absorb will depend on your own ability. Leng Shiqi nodded to indicate that he understood. At this moment, he thought of another question. Senior, what is that Heaven Face Soul Crystal? Heaven Face Soul Crystal is a cultivation treasure for the monster race, especially for me. As long as you get close to the crystal, you can absorb a large amount of monster chi and a portion of soul power. I just didn't expect a human like you to have monster blood. Since you can collect the Heaven Face Soul Crystal, you must have an extraordinary spatial spirit tool on you. Leng Shiqi didn't expect the question to come back to him. He didn't know how to explain. Nine Leaves said, you're not worried that I will covet your things, are you? Junior doesn't dare. Leng Shiqi naturally didn't dare to admit it. I'm not interested in your secrets. I can share the Heaven Face Soul Crystal with you. In the future, as long as you help me recover my cultivation, the benefits will be beyond your imagination. Junior understands. Leng Shiqi said, but he still felt that the soul-departing scorpion seemed to have other intentions. This was clearly a bomb that would explode at any time, but he had no way to deal with it. It was already good that he was still alive. 3 days later, Leng Shiqi and Nine Leaves quietly returned to the center of the mountain range. No one would have thought that they would dare to come back after escaping not long ago. Fortunately, there were no signs of life in the center of the mountain range. They smoothly arrived at a dark nest. This was the lair of the rank 6 demonic beast, Mixed Devil Black Marten. Leng Shiqi had never thought that he would walk into the lair of a rank 6 monster so openly. The inside of the lair wasn't very big, and after walking for a short while, he could faintly feel waves of rich spirit chi. He continued to advance for a period of time, and in his eyes, he saw a ball of extremely condensed spirit chi that was like the bright moon. That was the spirit spring that Nine Leaves spoke of. And in the surroundings of the spirit spring, there was indeed the aura of more than a dozen third-rank demonic beasts. There was also an earthbound rat that the Leng Shiqi had encountered before. Nine Leaves jumped out of Leng Shiqi's shoulder and directly jumped into the middle of the third-rank demonic beasts. The third-rank demonic beasts immediately discovered her, but Nine Leaves' movements were even faster. A purple spirit light shot out of her eyes, and then a dozen purple threads shot out of the spirit light and instantly entangled the third-rank demonic beasts. The eyes of the demonic beasts that were entangled by the purple threads became blurry, and then they lay down groggily and stopped moving. Nine-Leaf hurriedly said, "My cultivation has been greatly damaged, and I don't know how long I can control them. Quickly enter the spirit spring to cultivate." Ling Shiqi used spirit steps and arrived at the spirit spring in a few steps. But when he saw the spirit spring, he was slightly taken aback. In his imagination, the spirit spring should be extremely pure spring water. But what appeared in front of him was a small pool of light green water emitting black gas. It didn't look like a good thing. Is this really the spirit spring? Ling Shiqi couldn't help but feel a bit suspicious. At this moment, Nine-Leaf's displeased voice echoed, "What are you in a daze for?" Ling Shiqi no longer hesitated and directly jumped into the spirit spring. After he entered the spirit spring, he instantly felt countless pure spirit force enter his body from every pore. However, Ling Shiqi's cultivation was already at the peak of the 9th level of the spirit transformation realm, and his spirit techniques were almost complete. What he needed to do now was to use this spirit force to refine and replace the original spirit force in his body. At first, the process was very smooth. The spirit force in his body became more and more pure. He felt very comfortable soaking in the spirit spring and gradually forgot about time. After an unknown amount of time, Ling Shiqi began to feel that something was wrong. He looked inside himself and found that his spirit force had turned into 3 colors. They were white, black, and green. These 3 types of spirit force were clearly separated, but as time passed, the green spirit force began to grow. At this time, Ling Shiqi's spirit force would not grow. The green spirit force growing larger meant that the other 2 types of spirit force were decreasing. Although Ling Shiqi didn't know what was going on, he felt that this was not a good thing. The spirit force in his body was already very pure, so he planned to try to sublimate his spirit sea. As long as he had a spirit sea, he would be 1 step into the spirit pulse realm. He could slowly open up his spirit pulse in the future. However, at this moment, he discovered something even stranger. That was, whether it was the 7 Fiend art or the 9 Nether magic pattern, they could not fully mobilize the spirit force in his body. The 7 Fiend art could only mobilize the white spirit force, while the 9 Nether magic pattern could only mobilize the black spirit force, which was the demonic spirit force. Ling Shiqi felt something and hurriedly used the demonic beast technique to control the green spirit force. The green spirit force was the demonic spirit force. Ling Shiqi had a headache. He didn't know why this was happening in his body, but now it seemed that he had to mobilize 3 types of spirit force at the same time to sublimate his dantian into a spirit sea. What was worse was that Nine-Leaf's voice also sounded, "Hurry up, I can't hold on any longer." With internal and external troubles, Ling Shiqi suddenly had a crazy idea in his mind. In that case, wouldn't it be fine if he used 3 cultivation methods at the same time? One had to say that this idea was extremely bold. Ordinary people would generally only practice one kind of cultivation method. Even if they obtained a higher level cultivation method, they would still replace the previous cultivation method. This was because there were many conflicts between different cultivation methods. Ling Shiqi had the system, so he could have several cultivation methods at the same time. But he had never thought of using several cultivation methods at the same time. For example, the 7 Fiend art and the 9 Nether magic pattern both used the same meridians. If he used 2 cultivation methods at the same time, those meridians would be squeezed by 2 different forces. There was no need to even mention the 3 cultivation techniques. However, Ling Shiqi had only one way now, so he had to try it. Chapter 222. Now Ling Shiqi had no other choice, and time did not allow him to hesitate. He could use the power of the spirit spring to operate his cultivation method without any scruples. If he missed this opportunity, where would he find spirit spring for him in the future? Since he had decided to do it, Ling Shiqi immediately operated the 7 Fiends art, 9 Nether devil pattern, and Beast essence devil technique at the same time. As a result, he was able to mobilize all the spiritual power in his body. However, there was a problem. There were many conflicts between the meridians of these three cultivation methods. Some meridians needed to circulate the spiritual power of two cultivation methods at the same time, and some even needed to circulate the spiritual power of three cultivation methods at the same time. Leng Shiqi's meridians were suddenly filled with pain, and the most serious ones had already broken. However, Leng Shiqi did not have the slightest intention of stopping. Instead, he operated the cultivation method even faster. Gradually, the damage to his meridians became more and more serious. At this moment, a light illuminated Leng Shiqi's mind. Since spiritual techniques can be fused, why can't cultivation methods? Leng Shiqi grasped this flash of light, and then he used his experience of fusing spiritual techniques to find the commonalities of these three cultivation methods. He wanted to use these commonalities as a point of convergence to fuse the three cultivation methods. The 7 fiends art cultivated blood chi and fiendish chi, the 9 nether devil pattern cultivated demonic chi, and the beast essence devil technique cultivated demonic chi. What were the commonalities of these three cultivation methods? Fiendish chi, demonic chi, demonic chi. Leng Shiqi felt as if he had grasped something. His mind turned rapidly, and gradually, his mind became clearer and clearer. Finally, as if the clouds parted to reveal the sun, Leng Shiqi finally found the point. That was Yin. Whether it was blood chi, demonic chi, or demonic chi, they were all the extreme Yin forces of this world. Suddenly, Leng Shiqi entered an incomparably wonderful state. If one looked carefully at his eyes, they would discover that he was in a strange state. One of his eyes was as clear as a mirror, while the other was chaotic. In this state, the three cultivation methods in Leng Shiqi's body no longer conflicted with each other, and they began to avoid each other. After a period of time, the three forces began to merge together in a bizarre manner. The three colors of spiritual power in Leng Shiqi's body began to become no longer distinct, but mixed together and turned into a gray spiritual power. At this moment, the gray spiritual power began to slowly rotate, and the rotation speed became faster and faster, forming a vortex. The spirit chi whirlpool was still shrinking. Every time it shrank, the spirit chi would become more viscous and pure. When the vortex shrank to the extreme, there was a change. All the spirit chi in Leng Shiqi's body disappeared and turned into a drop of gray spirit chi. However, this tiny drop was even purer and more majestic than the huge ball of spiritual energy he originally had. At this moment, he finally condensed his spiritual power into spirit liquid and successfully opened his spirit sea. Of course, Leng Shiqi's drop of spirit liquid was still far from the spirit sea, but he was one step into the spirit pulse realm. It was also because he had condensed his spiritual sea that the original three cultivation techniques had completely fused together at this moment. Boom! Leng Shiqi's aura suddenly increased by a few times, and his chest and back glowed with a strange light. First, it was the beast essence battle pattern of the spiritual ruin beast king behind him. The battle pattern was white with a bit of gold, but now it turned gray. Then Leng Shiqi's body began to grow, and he was a head taller. However, what was even more strange was that the beast essence battle pattern of the spiritual ruin beast king behind him slowly faded and finally disappeared. At the same time, the beast essence battle pattern of the red crag beast on his chest lit up, and then a beast armor appeared on his body. However, this beast armor was completely different from before. The original reddish-brown armor had turned pitch black. Furthermore, there was a sinister and terrifying spike growing out of every joint. There were even blood-colored patterns on the armor that flickered as if they were breathing. Now, Leng Shiqi looked like a demon that crawled out of the netherworld. He looked down at the changes in his body. He did not expect such a magical change after the cultivation methods were fused. Nine Leaf naturally also noticed the change in Leng Shiqi. She gave a soft cry of surprise, and said, "You really do have some skills. I can at most last for the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. You can try to open the spirit vein and see. If it doesn't work, we will have to leave." Leng Shiqi did not speak. He closed his eyes and felt the explosive power in his body while continuing to consider which spirit vein to open first. The Bloody Slaughter 7 Fiend art and the 9 Nether Devil pattern were different from the first spirit vein. Now that they had fused together, he naturally had a choice. Soon, Ling Shiqi decided to open the spirit vein of the Bloody Slaughter 7 Fiend art first. After all, he was a disciple of the Blood Robe Pavilion. If he opened other spirit veins first, wouldn't he be guilty of stealing? Many spirit cultivators who had just entered the spirit vein realm would choose to open the spirit vein on their right arm first because this was one of the spirit veins that could directly improve their combat strength. However, the Bloody Slaughter 7 Fiend art opened the spirit vein near the heart vein first. The Bloody Slaughter 7 Fiend art was best at controlling the power of blood, so this choice was understandable. Then Ling Shiqi began to try to open the spirit vein. Logically speaking, the difficulty of opening the spirit vein was actually above the spirit sea and there was a certain amount of danger. For example, a spirit cultivator who had cultivated for decades could also sublimate the spirit sea, which was a process of accumulation. However, opening the spirit vein was not so simple. One must carefully control the spirit power at all times. If the spirit power was too weak, it would not be enough to open it. If the spirit power was too strong, it could destroy the spirit vein and cause it to fail. At first, Ling Shiqi was also a little worried, but he didn't expect that it would be so easy for him to do it. In less than half an incense stick's time, he successfully opened the first spirit vein and finally broke through to the spirit vein realm of the 4 realms of heaven. He thought about it for a moment. He had once drawn a special spiritual skill called Chakra Walk. He rarely used this spiritual skill, but it gave Ling Shiqi a very strong control over his Reiki. In addition, he had borrowed the power of Mo Ling and 9 Leave. He had personally experienced the power of a spirit vein realm master. Coupled with the fact that he was now in the spirit spring and had an incomparably huge power backing him, he could easily open the spirit vein. At this moment, there seemed to be an invisible force between heaven and earth that suddenly poured into his body. Chapter 223. Ling Shiqi had just broken through to the spirit pulse realm when an invisible force drilled into his body. That power flowed through his limbs, bones, and internal organs, causing his entire body to feel a numbing sensation. Then, the beast essence battle runes on his body suddenly disappeared, and the scars on his body rapidly faded. Some small wounds were even directly erased, and even his skin seemed to be a little fairer. And his mystical strength had skyrocketed to the level of the late stage of the pure spirit realm. At the same time, his spiritual space suddenly shook, and the size of the space suddenly expanded by a full quarter. Stepping into the 4 realms of heaven and man meant that he had an innate body and was reborn to prolong his life. He was no longer a person of the same world as ordinary mortals and spirit cultivators. Pooh! Ling Shiqi jumped out of the spirit spring and landed on the ground. His body emitted a series of ka-ka sounds. He clenched his fist and a wave of spirit energy surged out. He felt the endless power in his body and suddenly wanted to shout a few times. He had finally broken through to the spirit pulse realm. A 14-year-old spirit pulse realm. Tang Heyu of the Tang family had stepped into the spirit pulse realm at the age of 24, shocking the entire Donglin County. However, Ling Shiqi had passed away a full 10 years earlier than him. If this matter were to spread, it would definitely alarm the entire Thunderfire dynasty and even the entire Falling Star continent. However, at this time, 9 Leaves shouted, "Not good. I feel the aura of that old sable, it's coming back." 9 Leaves' words were like a basin of cold water poured on Ling Shiqi's head, extinguishing his lofty aspirations of breaking through to the spirit pulse realm. What was worse was that 9 Leaf could no longer control those rank 3 monsters. Ling Shiqi's mind moved, and a demonic light flashed on his body, and the pitch-black armor appeared again. He pulled 9 Leaf and turned into a black phantom as he rushed out of the nest. Unfortunately, as soon as he arrived at the entrance of the lair, he bumped into a wave of monstrous demonic chi. Vaguely, there was a demonic beast within the monstrous demonic chi. Its body was shrouded in black chi, and its eyes were glowing green. That was the rank 6 demonic beast, the demon Black Marten. Leng Shiqi couldn't help but stop. Right now, there was a rank 6 monster beast in front of him, and there were more than a dozen rank 3 monster beasts chasing after him. He was surrounded by enemies from both sides, and no matter if it was in front or behind, they could easily tear him apart. In that case, Leng Shiqi could only find another way to survive. However, he couldn't escape into the ground. Among those rank 3 demonic beasts, there was the earthbound rat. His burrowing speed was far inferior to the earthbound rat. Moreover, such a small trick like burrowing might not work in front of the Chaos Devil Black Marten. Since he couldn't walk in front or behind, and he couldn't burrow into the ground either, there was only one path left. That is, the sky. The Chaos Devil Black Marten was enveloped in a boundless demonic aura as it rapidly approached. The rank 3 demonic beasts behind it also pounced over. In this perilous situation, Leng Shiqi bent his knees slightly and then suddenly jumped up. He gathered his spirit energy and leaped over 100 feet into the air. However, his body didn't fall down. Instead, with a swoosh sound, a pair of pure white wings more than 10 feet long suddenly spread out from Leng Shiqi's back. He was wearing a demon-like armor, but a pair of holy wings spread out behind him, as if a demon god had descended to the world. That was the mid-level prize he had drawn not long ago, wings soaring sky. Leng Shiqi flapped his wings and his body quickly rose up. A few pure white feathers slowly fell, and his body was already several dozen feet above the ground. The Chaos Devil Black Marten cared about its precious spirit spring the most. Back then, in order to avoid the experts of the 2 sects and the heavenly tribulation, it had no choice but to leave its nest. However, it was always worried, so it caught some rank 3 demonic beasts to guard the spirit spring for it. As for the rank 4 and rank 5 demonic beasts, it also wanted to catch them, but those demonic beasts also had intelligence and had long run away. After the heavenly tribulation, the Chaos Devil Black Marten originally planned to hide for a while before returning. However, 2 days ago, it suddenly sensed that the spirit spring had been touched by someone. At first, it thought that the experts of the Imperial Beast Abode and the Blood Beast sect had discovered the spirit spring, so it still didn't dare to return. However, later on, it tentatively returned to the center of the mountain range and found that the people from the 2 sects had long left. This time, the Chaos Devil Black Marten was enraged and immediately rushed back, just in time to see the scene of Leng Shiqi escaping from the nest. The Chaos Devil Black Marten clearly felt the presence of the spirit spring on Leng Shiqi's body, and its heart was filled with violent anger and surging killing intent. Just as it was about to cut Leng Shiqi into pieces, the Leng Shiqi suddenly flew into the sky. A spiritual pulse realm cultivator could also fly. This scene broke the Chaos Devil Black Marten's understanding, but it couldn't dispel its anger and hatred. The Chaos Devil Black Marten let out a strange scream, and then a black and green liquid as thick as a bucket shot directly towards the Leng Shiqi in the air like an arrow. Leng Shiqi saw the black and green arrow from afar and felt a chill down his spine. He knew that if he was hit by this arrow, even if he had 2 lives, it wouldn't be enough. At this time, Nine Leaves said, "This is the Chaos Devil Black Marten's unique Chaos Devil Chi. Not only does it disrupt the flow of spiritual power, it also has a strong corrosive effect. It recognizes my presence, so I can't help you. You can only rely on yourself." Hearing this, Leng Shiqi's face darkened. He flapped his wings and flew higher and higher. Unfortunately, this was the first time he used his wings, and he didn't have any experience, so his flying speed was still a bit slow. The most important thing was that his speed was even slower than the Chaos Devil Chi. As Leng Shiqi flew high, his hands moved, and waves of demonic chi surged out. The demonic chi instantly condensed into 2 demonic spears. He moved his arms, and the 2 demonic spears drew 2 demonic crosses in the air and fell straight down. The 2 demonic spears met the Chaos Devil Chi, and there were 2 loud bangs in the air. The 2 demonic spears were as fragile as paper and were shattered by the Chaos Devil Chi in the blink of an eye. So strong. Ling Shiqi was secretly shocked. Although he was shocked, his hands didn't slow down. He clenched his fists and smashed them down. In an instant, a tiger's roar resounded through the sky, and a gray tiger phantom jumped out of his fists and charged towards the Chaos Devil Chi. Ling Shiqi then slapped out 6 times, and 6 fiery palm shadows appeared one after another. With a thought, the 6 fiery palm shadows suddenly merged into one, and condensed into a huge palm shadow that was 10 feet tall. There was a layer of faint green light on the flames of the palm shadow. He held the 6-yang poisonous fire palm and slammed it down. At this time, Ling Shiqi was nearly 100 feet in the air, and the Chaos Devil Chi gradually weakened. It hit the tiger phantom first, and in a breath's time, it tore the tiger apart. Then, the Chaos Devil Chi met the huge fiery palm shadow, and the two exploded into brilliant sparks in the sky. After a few breaths, the huge fiery palm shadow completely scattered like fireworks. However, the Chaos Devil Chi was obviously weakened, and now there was only a small half left. Ling Shiqi held 2 strange purple scimitars in his hands. He poured all of his spiritual power into the scimitars, and the purple light on the blades was very dazzling. When the Chaos Devil Chi approached, Ling Shiqi slashed out 2 crescent-shaped purple sword lights, and each sword light was 10 feet long. The strange thing was that the 2 saber lights were not directly slashed out by Ling Shiqi. Instead, they moved closer to each other and formed a round purple moon. In the bright sun, a round purple moon suddenly appeared, and this purple moon was completely formed by extremely sharp sword lights. Boom! A loud sound was heard. The Chaos Devil Chi hit the purple moon's sword lights. Chapter 224. The purple moon saber aura blocked the demon chi, and Ling Shiqi immediately felt an unimaginable force coming from his hands that were holding the saber. The impact shattered the armor on his arms, and blood oozed out from his palms. Fortunately, the mixed demon aura only had about 30% of its power left. Now that it had collided with the purple moon sword aura, it could not break through for a while. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Ling Shiqi continued to flap his wings, using the high altitude to wear down the mixed demon aura. At the same time, he could also avoid the mixed demon mystic minx attack. The purple moon in front of Ling Shiqi was also fading and shrinking at a speed visible to the naked eye. It did not seem to be able to hold on for much longer. Finally, the purple moon sword aura shattered after 10 breaths. What was even more frightening was that the pair of 4th-grade spirit sabers in Ling Shiqi's hands also shattered. Ling Shiqi's heart ached. He had coveted this pair of spirit sabers for a long time on Blood Mist Island. Finally, it fell into his hands. It could be said that this pair of spirit sabers had been with him ever since he came to the outside world. Unfortunately, they were still destroyed by the attack of a 6th-grade demon beast. The purple moon fell and the spirit sabers shattered, but the mixed demon aura still existed. Although it was much weaker than before and probably only had 10% of its power left, Ling Shiqi still felt that his life was in danger. The mixed demon aura had already shot in front of Ling Shiqi. At this moment, he took out a small brown umbrella from his mustard seed bag. This umbrella was the 4th-grade defensive spirit weapon that Feng Shamo rewarded him with, the mountain umbrella. Ling Shiqi hurriedly opened the mountain umbrella in front of him. At the same time, the mixed demon aura also attacked. In an instant, Ling Shiqi heard a few cracking sounds. He did not need to look to know that there were cracks on the mountain umbrella. The 4th-grade defensive spirit weapon was so weak in front of the weakened mixed demon aura. The mountain umbrella did not live up to its name. It could not even block a single strand of demon aura and followed in the footsteps of the spirit sabers. Although the mountain-holding umbrella was completely broken, the demonic chi had almost completely dissipated. Only a tiny bit of it surged into Ling Shiqi's body. In an instant, the pitch-black armor on Ling Shiqi's chest and abdomen emitted sizzling sounds as small holes were corroded one after another. At the same time, there was also a faint demonic aura burrowing into his body, constantly corroding his flesh and meridians. Ling Shiqi was shocked and hurriedly mobilized his spirit energy to dissolve the demonic aura. However, he could not help but spit out a large mouthful of blood. He had clearly suffered internal injuries. The good news was that the demonic qi had finally dissipated, and the Leng Shiqi had already flown high into the clouds. He quickly checked his injuries. Fortunately, they weren't too serious, so he didn't use healing touch. He had finally blocked the attack of a rank 6 monster. He had exhausted all his means, destroyed 2 4th-tier spirit artifacts, and suffered external and internal injuries. Only then was he able to block the demonic qi that shot over from afar. That was the power of a rank 6 monster. At this moment, Nine Leaves said with a slightly surprised tone, "I almost wanted to make a move just now. I didn't expect you to have so many tricks up your sleeve." Leng Shiqi's heart sank. Although he had blocked the attack of the demonic sable, he had also exposed a lot of his secrets. For example, this pair of wings, demonic skills, Tiger Wave Stomping Fist, 6 Yang Poisonous Fire Palm, Half Moon Light Slash, and so on. It could be said that other than the chaotic flower's gradually dazzling eyes that Nine Leaf had never seen before, he had nothing else to hide in front of Nine Leaf. However, he really didn't have any other methods. He couldn't bet on whether Nine Leaf would save him or not. It was better to hold the opportunity in his own hands than to entrust it to others. And even if Nine Leaf really made a move, her aura would be recognized by the demonic sable. If it spread to the Imperial Beast Abode and Blood Beast sect, then what awaited them would be a disaster. Nine Leaves seemed to have seen through Leng Shiqi's thoughts and said, "What, do you think you've exposed too many secrets? Don't worry, we signed an equal blood contract. Unless I'm crazy, I won't harm you." Leng Shiqi nodded silently. Nine Leaf continued, "Okay, since you've broken through to the Spirit Pulse realm and your combat power isn't bad, you should prepare some rank 2 monster cores for me. I only need a few dozen and I can recover to a rank 3 monster." Leng Shiqi asked tentatively, "Can this matter be delayed? I want to wait until my realm is completely stabilized." Nine Leaf answered straightforwardly, "Of course. By the way, your wings are some kind of high-level spirit artifact, right? How long can you use them for?" Leng Shiqi's heart skipped a beat. Nine Leaf could tell at a glance that he couldn't use the wings for a long time. It could be seen how sharp his eyes were. He said, "I can only use them for about an hour." "Okay, let's hurry to the periphery. Since Old Sable is back, the remaining old friends might also be back. Be careful not to bump into them." To be called an old friend by Nine Leaf, it had to be a rank 6 monster. Leng Shiqi couldn't care less about his injuries and quickly flew out of the center of the mountain range. This time, it only took an hour for Leng Shiqi to fly to the periphery with Nine Leaf. The time limit of the wings was also up. Leng Shiqi soon found that there were very few rank 3 monsters here. It seemed that the demonic miasma mountain range was slowly returning to normal. Leng Shiqi opened up a space underground and prepared to consolidate his Spirit Pulse realm cultivation and heal his injuries. Only then did he notice 2 system notifications. The system is about to upgrade. It will take 30 natural days. The system will not be able to be used during the upgrade. The system has detected that the host cultivates an unknown cultivation method. Please name the cultivation method. Leng Shiqi wasn't surprised when he saw the first message. Every time he broke through a realm, the system would also upgrade. He was used to it. However, the second message surprised Leng Shiqi a little. Looking at this sentence, he opened the system and saw that there was a series of question marks behind the cultivation method in his information. Leng Shiqi thought about it. In fact, the information in the system had never been complete. This was because all the unique skills he had comprehended alone were not recorded by the system. This time, he had accidentally merged 3 cultivation methods and messed up the records of the cultivation methods in the original information. This meant that the system could detect the situation in his body, but it couldn't detect his thoughts and thoughts. Then Leng Shiqi thought about it. He should give his current cultivation method a name. His current cultivation method was a fusion of the 7 Fiend Blood Slaughter Art, the Netherworld Demon Pattern Diagram, and the Beast Essence Devil Technique. Originally, these 3 cultivation methods were all incomplete. Leng Shiqi didn't know what rank the cultivation method would be after the fusion, but in short, it was much higher than rank 4. Leng Shiqi thought for a moment. Based on the principle that the longer the name, the more powerful it was, he named the cultivation method Heaven Fiend Netherworld Demon Beast Blood Slaughter Record. Chapter 225. Just as Leng Shiqi was about to consolidate his cultivation, Nine Leaves said, "Take out the Heaven Face Soul Crystal. It's good for consolidating your cultivation. I've been helping you control those rank 3 beasts for the past few days and lost some vitality. It's time to make up for it." Hearing this, Leng Shiqi obediently took out the Heaven Face Soul Crystal from the system space. However, he was instantly stunned because he could no longer summon the system. The system had entered an upgrade state and he could not use the system for 10 days. The moment he took out the Heaven Face Soul Crystal, the system automatically shut down. It could be said that Leng Shiqi could not take it back. "Forget it, I'll just cultivate here for 10 days. Leng Shiqi secretly decided. However, Nine Leaves' words made Leng Shiqi a little confused. He remembered that not much time had passed in the Spirit Spring, but Nine Leaves said that he had been controlling the rank 3 beasts for a few days. Thus, he asked, "Senior Nine Leaf, Junior has a few doubts. I hope Senior can resolve them." After Leng Shiqi took out the Heaven Face Soul Crystal, Nine Leaf ran to the bottom of the crystal and began to breathe in the demonic aura emitted by the crystal. She seemed to be in a good mood and said, "Ask away." "Senior Nine Leaf, how long have I been in the Spirit Spring?" Leng Shiqi asked. Nine Leaf narrowed her eyes and said, "Well, it's been about 4 days." 4 days? Leng Shiqi could not believe it. In his opinion, it had not been long. Nine Leaf continued, "Why else do you think old Martin suddenly rushed back?" "So that's how it is. This time, Junior was able to break through to the Spirit Vein realm, all thanks to Senior Nine Leaf bringing me to the Spirit Spring and buying time for Junior. Junior will remember this kindness in his heart," Leng Shiqi said with a sincere tone. Regardless of the reason why Nine Leaves signed an equal blood contract with him in the beginning, and regardless of what Nine Leaves' intentions were, she had indeed helped him a lot this time. Nine Leaves said a little impatiently, "Enough, this old lady is most annoyed by your human race's hypocrisy. Once you've recovered, hurry up and get a Yao core for this old lady." Leng Shiqi rubbed his nose awkwardly. He had finally shown his sincerity, but all he got was a scolding. However, he still continued to ask, "Junior still has one thing that I don't understand. The Spirit Spring of the mixed devil mystic Martin seems a bit strange. While I was cultivating, a demonic aura suddenly appeared in my body." Nine Leaf was not surprised as he said, "I've long seen through this. In fact, you originally cultivated a cultivation method related to demonic beasts. Your body already contains a portion of demonic blood. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been able to collect the Heavenly Face Soul Crystals. Previously, when you and I signed an equal blood contract, a portion of my soul energy stimulated your demonic blood. After that, you even borrowed my power. Although that power has dissipated, some of the remaining demonic power has seeped into your spiritual power. The most important thing was that Spirit Spring. The old Martin had the Spirit Spring for about 200 to 300 years. During this time, it had been tinkering with the Spirit Spring to make it more suitable for his cultivation. Therefore, there must be a lot of demonic power in it. With these few points, it wouldn't make sense for you to not have demonic spiritual power." Speaking of this, Leng Shiqi nodded secretly. This was a bit like when he was possessed by the devil spirit, there was an additional demonic spiritual power in his body. "Thank you, Senior, for clearing my doubts. Alright, don't disturb me. Anyway, you've solved it yourself." With that, Nine Leaf closed his eyes and ignored him. Leng Shiqi had no more doubts in his heart, but at this moment, he discovered another problem. He looked down and immediately discovered something wrong. It was also something that he had not paid too much attention to. That was his head. Originally, the heavenly Fey soul crystals automatically floated in the air and were at the same height as his head. But now, the crystals only reached his shoulders. In other words, he had grown taller. The reason why Leng Shiqi only reacted now was because he was not unfamiliar with this height. This was the height he would reach after activating the spiritual Ruin Beast King's Beast Origin battle pattern. Did I not deactivate the Beast Origin battle pattern? But he clearly remembered that after escaping danger, he put away the Beast Origin battle armor. Then, he closed his eyes and looked inside. What he saw shocked him. The spiritual Ruin Beast King's Beast Origin battle pattern behind him had disappeared. Leng Shiqi was startled at first, but he quickly calmed down. His eyes flashed with a sharp light, and then he thoughtfully used the cold energy to condense an ice mirror. He took off his shirt and looked at the bulging muscles on his body and arms, as well as his mature and resolute face. He seemed to understand. The spiritual Ruin Beast King's Beast Origin battle pattern did not disappear, it was permanently activated. Or rather, it had completely merged into his body. Leng Shiqi did not expect this change. He thought to himself, this might be the effect of the cultivation method fusion. Anyway, it's a good thing. I don't have to pretend to be an old man anymore. Also, there's an extra spot to fuse the Beast Origin battle pattern. But I still have to think of an excuse to deal with people I know about this change. After understanding everything, Leng Shiqi finally immersed himself in cultivation. This cultivation session lasted for 5 days. He used these 5 days to completely stabilize his spirit pulse realm cultivation. The injuries on his body were also under control. He just needed to rest for a few more days to completely recover. At this time, Nine Leaf opened his eyes as if he sensed something. His eyes stared straight at Leng Shiqi and said, with your current strength, hunting tier 2 demonic beasts is as easy as turning over your hand. Hurry up and go get some tier 2 demonic pills. She had waited for this day for a long time. If not for the fact that she was afraid of exposing herself and wasting power, she would have done it herself. However, Leng Shiqi did not answer. Instead, he took out an exquisite small cloth bag from his mustard seed bag. He opened the cloth bag. Inside were dozens of rank 2 beast cores. These beast cores were left behind by the rank 2 beasts he had killed since entering the demonic Miasma mountain range. He planned to fuse them with the Beast Origin battle pattern. But now, he was not interested in these rank 2 beast cores. Nine Leaves' mung bean-sized eyes suddenly stared, Leng Shiqi, you've been hiding something. Before Leng Shiqi could speak, Nine Leaf opened her mouth and swallowed the dozens of beast cores. Then Nine Leaves' body began to sway in a daze. She said, I'm going to sleep for a while. Don't cause trouble. After she finished speaking, she lay on the ground. Leng Shiqi picked her up. Thinking that he was holding a rank 7 great beast in his hand, he was a little dazed. Then he shook his head and stuffed Nine Leaf into his arms. He was very happy that Nine Leaf was asleep. The system would be upgraded in 5 days. Nine Leaf looked like she would wake up in a short time, which gave him a chance to hide the system. Next, he planned to cultivate the Bloody Slaughter 7 Fiend art, which could only be learned by those in the Spirit Pulse realm. Chapter 226. Now that the Bloody Slaughter 7 Fiend art and the 9 Nether Devil pattern had merged into one, he could naturally cultivate their own characteristics and spiritual skills at will. Leng Shiqi planned to cultivate the spiritual skill attached to the Bloody Slaughter 7 Fiend art. This was also the specialty of the Blood Cloak Assassins of the Blood Cloak Pavilion, Carnage. Carnage was an auxiliary spiritual skill that was a rank 4 spiritual skill. It was a bit similar to the secret skill that Tang Hapu used to burn his blood essence. However, Carnage was much more advanced than that secret skill. Carnage also required blood essence to be used. The difference was that Carnage condensed blood essence, spiritual power, evil aura, and even will into a bloodline. This blood vein was also very flexible. Like a magic pattern, it could be applied to any place. For example, if one was good at fist techniques, it could be attached to the fist. If one was good at sword techniques, it could also be attached to the blade. This bloodline could allow the user to erupt with extremely strong combat power. The disadvantage was that it would also consume a part of the blood essence. The higher the level of carnage, the less blood essence would be consumed, and the stronger the explosive power of the bloodline. Leng Shiqi could not use the system now, so he spent a rare day purely relying on himself to cultivate carnage. However, he was still injured and had not fully recovered, so he did not try to use carnage. Next, Leng Shiqi began to prepare to condense the devil pattern again. When he was at the spirit transformation realm, he had condensed 9 devil patterns. Now that he was at the first level of the spirit pulse realm, he could condense 9 more devil patterns. 2 hours later, he condensed another 9 devil inscriptions. A total of 18 devil inscriptions could actually increase his strength by more than 2-fold. Leng Shiqi nodded with satisfaction. However, at this time, he suddenly remembered that the carnage of the bloody slaughter 7 fiend art and the devil pattern of the 9 nether devil pattern were auxiliary spiritual skills. Since he had even fused the cultivation method, these 2 spiritual skills could also be fused. In the following time, Leng Shiqi immersed himself in fusing the 2 spiritual skills, but the process was not very smooth. This was not because he did not have enough comprehension, but because he did not have enough blood essence. Every time he used carnage, he would need to consume a few drops of blood essence. If he didn't have any nourishing items, he would need more than 10 days to replenish his blood essence. He had only tried to fuse it once before giving up. He planned to wait until his injuries were healed and the system had upgraded carnage to full mastery. For days passed quickly, and the system upgrade was finally completed. The body of the sword was slender and the hilt was inlaid with a green gem. The blade shone with a faint green light. At first glance, it was not an ordinary item. Level 4 spiritual weapon, Green Rain Sword. The price was shockingly 200 system coins. Leng Shiqi's level 4 spiritual sword was destroyed in order to resist the mixed demon chi. Now that he was lacking a suitable spiritual sword, this Green Rain sword appeared at the right time. However, Leng Shiqi was embarrassingly short of money. He looked at his remaining 4 system coins and wanted to cry, but no tears came out. I have to think of a way to get some system coins. He now had 2 feasible methods. The first was to sell the black lump that he had picked up in the demon-suppressing town. He had not had the time to study that item. He originally wanted to ask Nine Leave about it, but now Nine Leave had fallen into a deep sleep. The second method was to get 200 system coins in one day. The first method was the simplest, but Leng Shiqi was still a little unwilling. That black lump might be an incredible treasure. The second method was easier said than done, unless he could rob someone else's treasury again. Leng Shiqi thought for a moment and decided to go out and see if he could kill a level 3 monster. Now that his strength had skyrocketed, if he could kill 3 level 3 monsters in one day, he would naturally be able to buy the Green Rain sword. If he could not, and there was no other way, he would have to sell the metal lump. After making up his mind, Leng Shiqi finally opened the lottery system. The unlimited lottery option was lit up at this moment. Leng Shiqi had 3 unlimited lottery chances. The prizes were unlimited skill points, Hand of Earth, and Byakugan. These 3 prizes, no matter which one it was, were important to him. Therefore, he was full of anticipation as he clicked on the unlimited lottery option. Chapter 227. Leng Shiqi clicked on the infinite lottery. A light flashed, and a system prompt appeared in front of his eyes. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the advanced prize, Spiritual Fantasy Realm. Spiritual Fantasy Realm? What's that? Leng Shiqi was puzzled, but in the next moment, his vision turned black, and in the blink of an eye, his consciousness had arrived in the spiritual space. He was still a little confused, and immediately, his spiritual space suddenly shook. Leng Shiqi was horrified. If there was a problem with the spiritual space, he would become an idiot. The edges of the spiritual space began to collapse, but strangely, Ling Shiqi did not feel any discomfort. Instead, he felt like his spiritual body had been sublimated. He looked down and saw that his spiritual body had completely formed a complete human form at some point, and his body was still slowly growing. Spiritual fantasy realm, is it something that strengthens spiritual power? His spiritual space was still expanding, and suddenly, a ray of light appeared in the incomparably dark spiritual space. In the blink of an eye, the light illuminated the entire spiritual space like a god descending to earth, and a translucent light curtain appeared at the edge of the spiritual space. Ling Shiqi controlled his spiritual body to fly here and knock on the light curtain, and immediately, there was a dong-dong sound. This light curtain is a bit like a protective shield. Maybe it can resist some illusions. If that's the case, things like illusions are less of a threat to me. While he was still studying the light curtain, an unexpected thing appeared in the center of the spiritual space, a heavenly face soul crystal. The heavenly face soul crystal actually came into his spiritual space. Before Ling Shiqi knew what was going on, the spiritual space suddenly shook again. In an instant, the heavenly phase soul crystal suddenly shot out countless green threads. When the threads hit the translucent light screen, the light screen was instantly dyed a pale green. At the same time, the heavenly phase soul crystal suddenly released a powerful suction force and sucked Ling Shiqi's spiritual body over. Ling Shiqi could not help but be shocked, but he immediately felt a huge and pure spiritual power pouring into his body. His spiritual body began to expand at a speed visible to the naked eye. In just a short moment, his spiritual body had grown to the size of a 7 or 8-year-old child. At this time, the spiritual power disappeared, and the spiritual space returned to normal, but Ling Shiqi was still a little shaken. The spiritual space had undergone a huge change, the sudden appearance of the heavenly phase soul crystal, and the increase of his spiritual power. This series of changes completely exceeded his understanding. But overall, this was a good thing, but when he saw the heavenly phase soul crystal, he still had a headache. With a shake of his body, he split into a total of 24 phantoms. 24 Ling Shiqi, with jade-colored sword chi and frost sword chi all over the sky. Not only did they dodge the Holy Silver Elk's attack, but they also drowned the Holy Silver Elk in the boundless sword chi. The Holy Silver Elk did not stop. It quickly dodged in the sea of sword chi, like a small boat in a huge wave, and could capsize at any time. When the sword chi dissipated, the silver light on the Holy Silver Elk's body dimmed a lot, and there were sword marks of different depths everywhere. And those sword marks still contained frost energy that froze the Holy Silver Elk's body, making it stiff all over. Yo, the Holy Silver Elk let out a strange cry. Now that the frost energy had entered its body, it had lost the speed it was most proud of, and it seemed to know what was going to happen to it. Ling Shiqi stretched out his hand. He did not have a saber in his hand, but he emitted an extremely sharp saber intent. The strange gray spiritual energy in his body flowed quickly. He waved his hand in front of him, and a gray full moon rose up. This was the full moon light formed completely by saber intent and saber chi. The full moon was filled with murderous intent, and the Holy Silver Elk also felt that death was coming, so it screamed and wanted to run away. However, Ling Shiqi raised his left hand, and 4 mud walls that were 5 feet wide and 3 feet tall suddenly appeared and surrounded the Holy Silver Elk. Boom! The Holy Silver Elk smashed through one of the mud walls, but the gray full moon was already coming down. In an instant, countless saber chi scattered in all directions, cutting down all the trees in the surrounding area, and destroying the Holy Silver Elk's life force. A dignified rank 3 demonic beast was actually killed by Ling Shiqi in just a few moves. This was not the heavily injured earthbound rat from before, but a Holy Silver Elk that was famous for its speed. Ling Shiqi walked up and looked at the Holy Silver Elk's broken corpse in a daze. After a few breaths, he laughed lightly. I am already this strong in the spirit pulse realm. In fact, this was indeed the case. His own cultivation technique, the Heavenly Fiend 9 Hell Demonic Beast Blood Devouring Record, was a fusion of 3 cultivation techniques with great potential. Just this point alone made his strength much stronger than an ordinary spirit vein stage cultivator at the first level of the spirit vein stage. His spiritual energy was also a fusion of demonic and demonic spiritual energy. Not only was it extremely pure, it was also very destructive. Other than that, after breaking through to the spirit pulse realm, Ling Shiqi's own unique techniques had also increased. There was also the armor he was wearing. This armor was based on the Red Crag Beast's Beast Origin battle runes, combined with the characteristics of the 9 Hell demonic pattern and the 7 Fiend blood slaughter art. It could be said that it increased his strength in all aspects. Under all these superpositions, Ling Shiqi was no longer able to judge his own strength, but just based on the fact that he was able to kill the holy silver deer, he was not weaker than a spirit cultivator at the 3rd level of the spirit vein stage. Next, he skillfully collected the holy silver elk's demonic core and sold the corpse. Unfortunately, the corpse was heavily damaged by him and he only sold it for 51 system coins. Finally, Ling Shiqi looked at the demonic armor on his body and muttered, "It's not appropriate to call this armor Beast Origin battle runes anymore. Let's call it Demonic Beast Blood Rune Armor." He removed the Demonic Beast Blood Rune Armor, but at this time, he was shocked to find that over 1,000 spirit transformation realm cultivators had entered his vision. And the number was still increasing, and there were a few that Ling Shiqi was very familiar with. Chapter 228. As early as half a month ago, the demon-suppressing town welcomed strong reinforcements, the Red Thunder Army. After the news of the Beast Tide rampage in the demonic Miasma mountain range, the Thunderfire dynasty mobilized 10,000 Red Thunder Army to guard the demon-suppressing town. However, after the Red Thunder Army entered the demon-suppressing town, they learned from Lei Yuanwu and the old city lord that the Beast Tide would not attack the town. It was very likely that the people of the Imperial Beast Camp and the Blood Beast sect were plotting something behind all this. In other words, the Red Thunder Army came here in vain. However, in order to stabilize the people, the Red Thunder Army was still stationed in the demon-suppressing town. Half a month ago, even in the demon-suppressing town, everyone could feel the terrible power of the divine punishment in the depths of the demonic Miasma mountain range. Especially those who were experienced and knowledgeable, they guessed that there was a rank 6 demonic beast going through the tribulation. Lei Yuanwu and the others finally understood why the Imperial Beast Camp and the Blood Beast sect went through so much trouble. However, so what if they knew? They were still not qualified to participate in it. Since then, the city lord's mansion had gradually spread the news that the Beast Tide would not break out. At first, no one believed it, but after so long, not a single demonic beast rushed out of the demonic Miasma mountain range, everyone gradually began to accept it. In order to completely eliminate the worries in the hearts of the residents in the city, today, the Red Thunder Army and the city guards once again carried out a big sweep to clean up the demonic beasts. The city guards who had participated in the clearing mission at the beginning became the guides of the Red Thunder Army, including the team of Ling Shiqi. Because Ling Shiqi was dead, the captain of his guards was taken over by Ding Zhou. This time, he, Deng Li, and Yang Jingqi led hundreds of Red Thunder Army into the demonic Miasma mountain range. At this moment, Yang Jingqi was walking silently, but suddenly, the bloody centipede that had been sleeping in his body for a long time moved. Yang Jingqi was shocked and felt a chill on his back. Unconsciously, a layer of cold sweat appeared on his forehead. He immediately thought of a person, Ling Shiqi. But wasn't Ling Shiqi dead? Ding Zhou noticed him and asked, "Brother Yang, what's wrong with you?" "Nothing, I just feel a little nervous," Yang Jingqi immediately recovered and said perfunctorily. Ding Zhou's voice became louder. He said, "Brother Yang, you worry too much. With the brothers of the Red Thunder Army here, we have nothing to be afraid of." Yes, I was worrying too much." Yang Jingqi wiped off his cold sweat. He didn't care about Ding Zhou's thoughts because he had other thoughts in his mind. Only Ling Shiqi could trigger the blood-colored centipede in his body, which meant that Ling Shiqi was not dead. However, he didn't show himself directly. Instead, he used this method to remind him that he wanted to meet him alone. Thinking of this, Yang Jingqi coughed twice to attract the attention of others. He pretended to be shy and said, "Captain Ding, I have something urgent to deal with. You don't have to worry about me. I'll catch up with everyone later." Ding Zhou frowned and waved his hand when he saw him looking like he needed to go to the toilet. Yang Jingqi immediately went into the dense forest next to him. He walked for a long time before stopping. His throat was agitated, and he didn't know how to say a word. Are you looking for me?" An old and hoarse voice suddenly came from all directions. Yang Jingqi's body suddenly trembled. He recognized this voice. The owner of this voice was the Leng Shiqi who planted the centipede curse in his body and later died. Of course, in Yang Jingqi's memory, it should be Senior Lu. Senior, you didn't die. Yang Jingqi's heart was covered with a layer of fear. He really couldn't understand how the other party escaped from the hands of a rank 3 monster. What was the purpose of finding him now? "What, do you want me to die?" No, I've never had such thoughts," Yang Jingqi said, a little flustered. Leng Shiqi was hiding in the dark and felt a little funny when he saw Yang Jingqi's current appearance. He remembered that when he threatened Yang Jingqi was a stubborn duck. Now, Yang Jingqi's life must be better, and he knew to cherish his life more. The reason why Leng Shiqi didn't show up was that his current size had changed. Although he still had the human skin mask in his hand, his body shape couldn't be changed. He simply used the voice-changing technique to imitate his previous voice and then spread it out with spiritual power. Leng Shiqi also had a lot of questions, so he said, "It's still the same. Answer my questions, and I can take back the centipede curse in your body." "I'll tell you everything I know." Leng Shiqi asked. "Very good. First, tell me about the demon-suppressing town and the city guards. Also, why did so many people enter the demonic miasma mountain range?" Yang Jingqi told him everything he knew. Leng Shiqi also understood that these people were from the Red Thunder Army. Leng Shiqi understood. Now that the demonic miasma mountain range was about to return to normal, and he had broken through to the spiritual pulse realm, he should be ready to leave here and return to Donglin County. Therefore, Yang Jingqi was useless. Leng Shiqi gently crooked his finger, and then a bloody centipede was outlined from Yang Jingqi's body and dissipated in the air. Leng Shiqi said lightly, "You can go." Yang Jingqi was still a little confused at this time. He had always thought that Leng Shiqi would kill him sooner or later, but now he really let him go. However, he immediately came to his senses and knelt down, saying, "Thank you for not killing me, Senior." However, no one answered him. Leng Shiqi had already left. If Leng Shiqi was still in the spirit transformation realm, he might really kill Yang Jingqi. But now that he was in the celestial being 4 realms, his vision and outlook had expanded a lot. Moreover, he would return to Donglin County soon. If nothing went wrong, he would not come to the demon-suppressing town for a long time. Yang Jingqi's life and death became a little insignificant. Since Yang Jingqi was no threat to Leng Shiqi, and he was not a bloodthirsty person, there was no harm in sparing Yang Jingqi's life. Of course, Leng Shiqi did not leave the demonic miasma mountain range immediately, because he had already thought of a way to collect 200 system coins in one day. Soon after, Ding Zhou and the hundreds of Red Thunder Army soldiers encountered several rank 2 demonic beasts, and they separated to encircle and suppress them. Ding Zhou, Deng Li, and 7 Red Thunder Army soldiers worked together to kill a rank 2 demonic beast. Ding Zhou was familiar with the process and was about to go forward to deal with the demonic beast's corpse. At this moment, a sudden change occurred. The ground beneath the 9 of them suddenly collapsed. In a moment of carelessness, the 9 of them all fell into a huge pit. Before they could understand what was going on, they felt a sharp pain at the back of their necks. Their vision turned black, and they lost consciousness. At this time, a figure suddenly appeared in the big pit. It was Leng Shiqi. The way he thought of was to plunder all kinds of resources from these Red Thunder Army soldiers and the city guards. The Red Thunder Army soldiers who could come in to encircle and suppress the demonic beasts were all elites. Just the weapons and armor they carried with them were expensive, and they must have a lot of spirit stones and various resources. Ling Shiqi laughed and said, I didn't expect that one day I would be in this kind of business. Forget it, let's hurry up and do it, lest others are attracted. Unfortunately, these people did not have many resources with them, but with the help of the rank 2 demonic beasts, Ling Shiqi finally collected 200 system coins and bought the Qinglin saber in the system shop. In the end, he went all the way back to the demon-suppressing town and embarked on the journey home. Chapter 229. A month later, in Donglin County's Shi City. A robust young man dressed in black walked in. The young man looked to be around 18 or 19 years old. He was not short and his cultivation was not weak either. He was at the middle stage of the spirit transformation realm. He had a slender spirit saber on his waist and 2 bags on his back, one big and one small. Looking at his travel-worn appearance, one could tell that he had traveled a long way. This young man was Ling Shiqi, who had hidden his cultivation. Back then, he had directly used the teleportation array from the Donglin County branch and arrived at the demon-suppressing town in 2 days. At the same time, he had taken 800 drops of blood and more than 1,000 spirit stones. Of course, he did not receive the treatment of being teleported back. Fortunately, his breakthrough to the spirit pulse realm was not slow, so he had enough time to return. In fact, he did not plan to return directly. He still wanted to hunt a few more rank 3 monsters. However, in order to collect 200 system coins in one day to buy the Green Rain Saber, he had robbed the Red Thunder Army and the city guards. This could be considered as completely offending them. Later, many experts of the 4 realms of the Sky Realm surrounded him. He had no choice but to leave the demonic Miasma mountain range. This Shi city was already very close to Shangyang City. There was a distance of 200 to 300 miles between the two. Ling Shiqi estimated that he would be able to return to the branch in 2 or 3 days. However, the number of spirit cultivators in the city was beyond his imagination. Groups of spirit cultivators could be seen everywhere, and almost all of them seemed to be rogue cultivators. This was not a city that only spirit cultivators could enter like the demon-suppressing town. How could there be so many spirit cultivators gathered here? Ling Shiqi thought to himself, what happened in this Shi city? He shook his head. No matter what happened in the city, he did not want to get involved. He just wanted to return to the branch as soon as possible. After that, Ling Shiqi casually walked into an inn and prepared to rest in a room. Unexpectedly, there was a group of people who reeked of alcohol pushing and shoving, cursing and swearing as they rushed out. Scarly, you want to get the illusory palace token of Shi City with your lousy saber technique? Bah, come, today I will spar with you and let you broaden your horizons. You arrogant my ass. Watch me chop you in half. Scarface Lee was a sloppy man with a long scar on his face. His face was flushed red and his eyes were blurred. He couldn't even stand steadily. It was obvious that he was drunk. But at this moment, he actually pulled out his broadsword and slashed. But the person he cut was not the person who argued with him, but Ling Shiqi. Ling Shiqi wrinkled his nose when he saw Scarface Lee's drunken body slashing towards him. Immediately, he stretched out 2 fingers and gently caught Scarface Lee's broadsword. Scarface Lee thought that he had chopped the right person. He opened his mouth and cursed out a lot of unbearable words. His spittle flew all over the sky, but his saber still didn't move an inch. Let go of me. Let go of me. Ling Shiqi flicked his finger, and the broadsword was immediately sent flying. Scarface Lee was also overthrown by a huge force. His casual move caused the surroundings to quiet down a bit. Scarface Lee was also at the middle stage of the spirit transformation realm, but he was so easily suppressed by a youth. Even if Scarface Lee was drunk, he shouldn't be so weak. This could only mean that this youth was not simple. At such a young age, he was already at the middle stage of the spirit transformation realm. His strength was also not ordinary. He was probably a disciple of a spirit cultivation sect. At this time, Scarface Lee crawled up from the ground and rushed over again, but he was stopped by several people who came together to stop him. The person who argued with him just now walked up to Leng Shiqi and said, "Little brother, Scarface Lee was drunk and caused trouble. I apologize to little brother on his behalf." Leng Shiqi felt that this was a bit interesting. Just a moment ago, he had a quarrel with Scarface Lee and almost fought with him. Now, he was helping him to apologize. He shook his head slightly and said, "It's fine." Then he walked to the counter in the store, and Scarface Lee was dragged out by a few people. Leng Shiqi was not interested in the relationship between these people. What he was interested in was the illusory palace token they mentioned. Moreover, they said the illusory palace token of Shuri City, which meant that other cities also had this thing. It was just that he had never heard of this thing. Out of curiosity, he didn't rush to rest after getting a room. Instead, he ordered some food and wine in the hall. He also asked about the illusory palace token. Fortunately, the illusory palace token was not a secret, and now the streets and alleys were talking about it. Leng Shiqi understood the whole story after eating a meal. It turned out that all of this was related to the illusory spirit's secret realm. According to legend, the illusory spirit's secret realm was within the scope of Donglin County. It was a space that was independently opened by a supreme expert 10,000 years ago. He established an incomparably powerful sect, but later on, for unknown reasons, the sect was suddenly destroyed, and the expert's whereabouts were unknown. More than 1,000 years ago, the illusory spirit's secret realm suddenly appeared, and it opened once every 100 years. Not long after, it was time for the secret realm to open again. After more than 1,000 years, the illusory spirit's secret realm was gradually controlled by the various spirit cultivator sects in Donglin County. However, there were also many rogue cultivators, and they certainly didn't want to miss this opportunity. Because of this, there was once a battle between rogue cultivators and spirit cultivator sections. Later on, the Mountain Sea sect came forward and made a 10-faced illusory palace token. Any rogue cultivator with this token could enter the illusory spirit's secret realm. This 10-faced illusory palace token was distributed in the 10 large cities of Donglin County. Every time before the illusory spirit's secret realm opened, these cities would open the fighting arena. Spirit cultivators above the spirit transformation realm could participate, and the strongest among them could obtain the illusory palace token. Leng Shiqi was not interested in this illusory palace token, but he was curious about the illusory spirit's secret realm. However, he knew that he had no chance to enter. This was because the Blood Robe Pavilion was not allowed to participate in the birth of this kind of secret realm. Although the Donglin County branch was not weak and was comparable to a second-rate force, it was impossible for it to have a quota to enter the illusory spirit's secret realm. Therefore, he didn't think too much about it. However, to his surprise, he actually heard some rumors about the Blood Robe Pavilion. 2 months ago, the Donglin County branch had easily annihilated a third-rate force. Leng Shiqi had personally participated in the battle to destroy the Golden Wing Academy. After that, the entire Donglin County was shaken, and the branch became famous. During the time he was away, Feng Shamo had destroyed another third-rate sect. Now, the Blood Robe Pavilion's Donglin County branch was even more famous than the Tang family. After filling his stomach, Leng Shiqi returned to his room and put down the 2 bags behind him. One of them was a bag he used as a disguise, and there were some things like travel expenses in it. The other, smaller bag contained 9 leave. At this moment, 9 leave was already the size of 2 palms, and it was no longer suitable to be stuffed into his arms. He didn't have a spirit beast bag, so he had to wrap her in the bag. He didn't know what this 7th-level great demon would do when she knew about his treatment. Leng Shiqi placed 9 leave on the table and looked at her to see if she showed any signs of waking up. Obviously, she hadn't. Then, Leng Shiqi wrapped her up and went to cultivate. Until night fell, he didn't notice that the bag suddenly moved slightly. Chapter 230. 3 days later, Leng Shiqi, wearing a mask, finally returned to the pavilion in Donglin County after nearly 5 months. The moment he stepped into the pavilion, he immediately felt a busy atmosphere. Everyone in the pavilion was in a hurry, as if they were very busy. Ling Shiqi felt a little strange. He remembered that there were always dozens of people wandering in the square when he came back. Now there were more people in the square, but they were all handing in tasks. He looked around as he walked, but what he didn't know was that a silver-striped assassin behind him suddenly made a strange gesture. Immediately after, everyone who saw this hand gesture quietly gathered around. As Ling Shiqi walked, he suddenly felt a cold killing intent enveloping him. He turned around abruptly and saw dozens of assassins had surrounded him from behind. The silver-striped assassin asked in a deep voice, "Who are you? How did you get in?" Ling Shiqi's heart skipped a beat when he heard this. He seemed to know why this happened. It was because his body shape had changed too much. In the blood-clothed pavilion, because everyone was wearing a mask, it was impossible to distinguish others from their appearance. They could only recognize others by their body shape. Therefore, the assassins in the blood-clothed pavilion had a pair of sharp eyes. They could tell at a glance that the current Ling Shiqi had never appeared before. Ling Shiqi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He had to say, "Brothers, I'm Ling Shiqi." Ling Shiqi? The Ling Shiqi who killed Tang and Pu? Impossible, Ling Shiqi is clearly a short boy. Yes, even if you want to disguise your identity, you should give a reliable name. Ling Shiqi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. There was no need for him to disguise himself. I changed my body shape because there was a problem with the cultivation method I practiced. Besides, my voice didn't change, right? It's just an imitation of the voice. It's nothing clever. Ling Shiqi was speechless. If he had to prove that it was him, he could only use the unique skill that he had used in the Golden Wing Academy. Just as they were in a stalemate, Feng Sha Mo was attracted by the commotion. As soon as he appeared, all the assassins of the Blood Garment Pavilion instantly quieted down. They seemed to be in awe of Feng Shamo. Seeing Feng Sha Mo come out, Ling Shiqi sighed in relief. When Feng Shamo saw Ling Shiqi, he released a powerful spiritual pressure without any hesitation. Then, Ling Shiqi felt a force sweep over his body. Feng Shamo let out a soft cry of surprise. "It really is you, come in with me." Grand Pavilion Lord. The assassin cupped his hands, but was interrupted by Feng Shamo. A person's body shape, appearance, and voice can be easily changed, but their aura can't be changed. He is undoubtedly Ling Shiqi, Feng Shamo said. When he said this, everyone was slightly shocked. However, when they thought of what they had just done, they all felt a bit embarrassed and quickly left. Of course, if they had to do it again, they would still do it. Ling Shiqi followed Feng Shamo to the Grand Pavilion Lord's Stone Palace. Feng Shamo directly said, "You actually did it." Under the mask, Ling Shiqi raised his eyebrows. At this moment, he had used the breath-concealing technique to hide his cultivation, only revealing the middle stage of the spirit transformation realm. However, from Feng Shamo's words, it was clear that he had seen through his true cultivation. It seems that even someone at the spirit astral realm like Feng Shamo can see through my disguise. The breath-concealing technique is not omnipotent. Ling Shiqi secretly thought. Feng Shamo continued, "You really did it. It seems that you had a fortuitous encounter in the demonic Miasma mountain range. I heard that you are only 14 years old. To reach the spirit vein realm at 14 years old, even I can't compare." Ling Shiqi didn't show any joy. He calmly said, "Disciple doesn't deserve it." It was indeed shocking that he had reached the spirit vein realm at 14 years old. However, others were only amazed by his potential, not his strength. He had exhausted all his means in the face of a rank 6 demonic beast's demonic chi and was even injured. This made him realize that the spirit vein realm was nothing at all. Feng Shamo saw that Ling Shiqi didn't feel happy or proud because of this. He secretly nodded and said, "Since you have reached the spirit vein realm as promised, I will also fulfill my promise." Have you ever heard of the Phantom Spirit Realm? Phantom Spirit Realm. Ling Shiqi's heart skipped a beat. He had just heard about it 2 days ago in Shi City. Was what Feng Shamo was going to say related to the phantom spirit realm? Disciple has heard a little about it. Yes, the phantom spirit realm only opens once every 100 years. However, after thousands of years, the space inside has become weaker and weaker. Now, only spirit vein realm cultivators can enter. Hearing this, Ling Shiqi had a guess. Feng Shamo wanted him to enter the phantom spirit realm. Sure enough, Feng Shamo continued, I can arrange for you to enter the phantom spirit realm. There is a special type of spirit stone inside called the Divine Illusion Spirit Stone. I need it. Ling Shiqi said with a bit of difficulty, but, as far as Disciple knows, people from the Blood Robe Pavilion can't enter the phantom spirit realm. Feng Shamo snorted and said, they can't enter just because they say so? Don't worry about this. I will arrange everything for you. When the time comes, I guarantee that you can enter the phantom spirit realm. You must know that the phantom spirit realm doesn't only have the Divine Illusion Spirit Stone. There are many other treasures. How much you can get will depend on your own ability. Ling Shiqi understood Feng Shamo's words. Being able to enter the phantom spirit realm was a huge opportunity in itself. Helping him collect the Divine Illusion Spirit Stone was reasonable. However, not long ago, he felt that it was impossible for him to enter the phantom spirit realm. Now, he had no choice. Ling Shiqi nodded and said, Disciple understands. Of course, the pavilion won't mistreat you. If you can gather a Divine Illusion Spirit Stone for me, it'll be a contribution of 100 drops of blood. There's no upper limit. Feng Shamo threw out another huge temptation. Ling Shiqi knew that although he was in the spirit vein realm, he wasn't a blood robe assassin. If he wanted to become a blood robe assassin, he needed 1,000 blood drops. However, he used 800 blood drops to teleport to the demon-suppressing city, and another 100 to exchange for the human skin mask. Now, he only had 150 blood drops left. There was still a long way to go to 1,000. According to Feng Shamo, as long as he could collect more than 9 Divine Illusion Spirit Stones in the Phantom Spirit Realm, he would have 1,000. He finally had a strong motivation and said, Disciple will definitely do his best to share the burden of the Pavilion Master. Very good. There is still more than a month before the Phantom Spirit Realm opens. During this time, you should get used to the power of the Spirit Vein Realm. Remember, when the time comes, those who can enter the Phantom Spirit Realm will be the elites of the various sections. You must not let your guard down. You may leave. I will inform you when the matter is settled. Disciple will take his leave. Ling Shiqi bowed and left the stone hall. What made him feel a little strange was that Feng Shamo didn't ask about the changes in the demonic miasma mountain range. Although the demonic miasma mountain range was far away, the Blood Robe Pavilion definitely knew about something as rare as a rank 6 monster undergoing tribulation. It's good that he didn't ask. It saves me the trouble of explaining. Ling Shiqi thought to himself and returned to the stone room. However, there was a little accident in the stone room. Chapter 231. As soon as Ling Shiqi returned to his stone room and put down his bag, he found that the bag containing 9 leaves moved slightly. He opened the bag first and saw that 9 leaves' body began to exude a layer of faint purple mist, and her head began to turn gently. She's going to wake up. No, she can't wake up here. Ling Shiqi understood that it should be the sign of 9 leaves awakening, but this was the pavilion branch, and there was a master of Gang's spirit realm like Feng Shamo, who could easily detect this demon chi. He didn't dare to delay, so he picked up the bag again and tore off a 2-star mission in the square of the pavilion branch. Then he left in a hurry without looking at it. Now everyone in the pavilion branch was very busy, and these killers usually didn't care about anything, so Ling Shiqi's action didn't attract any attention. Walking out of the pavilion branch, Ling Shiqi directly drilled into the depths of the Shadewind Ridge at full speed, found an extremely remote place, and sank into the ground. He was a little helpless at this time. He had just returned to the pavilion branch and didn't even have time to sit on the bench before he came out in a hurry again. Then he put 9 Leaf down and sat cross-legged with his eyes slightly narrowed. While watching 9 Leaf's changes, he thought about how to explain to her about the Heaven Demon Soul Crystal. Gradually, the purple mist on 9 Leaf's body became thicker and thicker, and her figure was faintly growing. Her scorpion tail grew a needle-like purple stinger, and her claws became sharper. Not long after, 9 Leaf opened her mouth and spat out her 7th-rank demon core. Ling Shiqi saw clearly this time that there were 7 purple lines on the demon core, but most of them were very dim, and only 2.5 were flowing with purple light. And with the passage of time, the 3rd purple line became brighter and brighter. Finally, there was a buzzing sound in the air, and the 3rd purple line on the demon core was completely lit. At the same time, 9 Leaf's chi soared, and she was already a 3rd-rank demon beast. At this moment, 9 Leaf had also opened her eyes. Her mouth moved and she kept the purple-veined demon core. She looked at Ling Shiqi and said, "I helped you break through to the Spirit Pulse realm, and you helped me recover to the rank 3 demon beast. We are even now. I don't sense any demonic aura nearby." "Where is this?" Ling Shiqi replied, "This is the Shadow Wind Ridge of Donglin County. I do have some impression of Donglin County, but I've never heard of Shadow Wind Ridge." "Take me out for a walk," 9 Leaf said with a curious look in his eyes. Ling Shiqi didn't expect 9 Leaf to make such a request. He also noticed that 9 Leaf was a little different from before. When they were still in the demonic miasma mountain range, 9 Leaf had a bitter and vengeful look on her face. She couldn't wait to get Ling Shiqi to help her collect a large number of rank 2 Yao cores. Now that she had recovered to the strength of a rank 3 demon beast, her resentment seemed to have faded a little, and her tone was much more relaxed. However, Ling Shiqi said with some difficulty, "Senior 9 Leaf, this Shadow Wind Ridge is extremely desolate and there are few people. There's nothing to see." 9 Leaf actually jumped up, "I don't care. Anyway, you have to take me to a place with a lot of people. I haven't left the demonic miasma mountain range for hundreds of years. Now that I finally have a chance, I must take a look around." When Ling Shiqi saw this, he wiped away his non-existent cold sweat. Now, he even began to wonder if 9 Leaf had been possessed by someone else. How could there be such a big change? But when he heard that 9 Leaf had never left the demonic miasma mountain range for hundreds of years, he understood. The demonic miasma mountain range, to put it bluntly, was actually a group of demon beasts raised by spirit cultivators. So what if you are a rank 7 great demon? If you still have to obediently stay in the mountain range, you might even suffer an unexpected disaster. Thinking of this, Ling Shiqi took out the mission that he tore off earlier. The reason why he took the next mission was to find a reason for himself to suddenly leave. Since he had already taken the mission, he might as well do it. At the same time, he could also bring 9 Leaf around. However, with his current Spirit Pulse realm cultivation, it was a bit of a waste for him to take on a 2-star mission. Unfortunately, although he was in the Spirit Pulse realm, he was not a blood-clothed assassin and could not take on a higher-level mission. He opened the mission information and raised his eyebrows. This mission was to assassinate the young master of Stone Translation City's Lin Hui Dojo, Lin Ing. Unknowingly, 9 Leaf had climbed onto Ling Shiqi's shoulder and leaned over. She said in surprise, "So you are an assassin?" Ling Shiqi did not hide and nodded, "That's right, I am a black-clothed assassin from the Blood-Clothed Pavilion." Blood-Clothed Pavilion? One of the 7 absolutes of the world, the Blood-Clothed Pavilion? That's right. 9 Leaf raised a claw and rubbed her chin in a human-like manner. "As expected, your background is not ordinary. Your status in the Blood-Clothed Pavilion is not low." Ling Shiqi coughed dryly and said, "No, I am just an ordinary disciple in the branch." Naturally, he could not reveal the matter of the Blood Fog Island. "You, an ordinary disciple?" 9 Leaf obviously did not believe it. "No, Blood-Clothed Pavilion, Blood-Clothed Pavilion, how can you be a black-clothed assassin?" Ling Shiqi felt that 9 Leaf had suddenly become 100,000 wise, but he still patiently explained, the spirit cultivators in the spirit transformation realm in the blood-clothed pavilion are all black-clothed assassins. Only those who break through to the fourth realm of celestial being are qualified to be promoted to blood-clothed assassins. Then Leng Shiqi did not wait for Nine leave to ask and continued, although I am in the spirit pulse realm now, I still lack a lot of sect contributions to be promoted to blood-clothed assassin. Doing missions is the way to get sect contributions. I see. Your assassination target, Lin Ing, is just a spirit cultivator who has just entered the pure spirit realm. Is this worth your time? Leng Shiqi replied, that's because I found that Senior Nine leaves seemed to be waking up, and there were several masters in the spirit gang realm in the branch. I was afraid that they would notice Senior's aura, so I casually took a mission. Well, you've thought it through. Nine leaves' tone contained a bit of praise. That's good too. Let's go to the Stone Translation City for a stroll. Leng Shiqi realized that no matter which world it was, women's pursuit of the word stroll was the same. But now there was another problem. Where should he put Nine leave? Now that Nine leaves' body was the size of a small millstone, of course he could not carry it with him. Moreover, she had already woken up, so he could not wrap it up casually. So he said, Senior Nine leave, your identity is indeed a bit inconvenient to show up. That's true. After all, this is the territory of you spirit cultivators. How about this, my soul will leave my body and attach it to your spiritual space. You can put my body away. When Leng Shiqi heard this, he suddenly panicked. However, before he could say anything more, a green shadow emerged from Nine leaves' body and entered between his eyebrows. Immediately, Nine leaves' roar sounded in his mind, Leng Shiqi, what did you do? Chapter 232. When Leng Shiqi heard Nine leaves' angry roar, he could not help but smile bitterly. He closed his eyes, and his consciousness also entered the spiritual illusion world. At this time, Nine leaves' soul body had already transformed into the human form of a beautiful woman, but it was just a faint green phantom. At first glance, it was a little scary. When she saw Leng Shiqi's soul body appear, she immediately pounced over. Leng Shiqi immediately felt his soul body sway as if it could collapse at any time. But at this moment, above the spiritual illusion world sky, that faint green light curtain suddenly struck down with a green lightning bolt. Nine leave was startled and retreated. Only now did she notice that Leng Shiqi's spiritual space was very different from what she knew. Her beautiful eyes swept over the entire spiritual illusion world, and gradually, the shock in her eyes increased. She murmured, "This is a spiritual space? Impossible." Leng Shiqi took the opportunity to hurriedly say, "Senior Nine leave, Junior also doesn't know what's going on. The Heaven Face Soul crystals suddenly ran into my spiritual space, and then the spiritual space became like this." Nine leave ignored him, but continued to observe the spiritual illusion world with a grave expression. Leng Shiqi could only wait by the side obediently, but he was a little nervous in his heart, afraid that Nine leave would really see through something. After a while, Nine leave sighed faintly and said, "Alas, the Heaven Face Soul crystal has already fused with your spiritual space and become the core of your spiritual space. In other words, you've already completely refined the Heaven Face Soul crystal." "Refined the Heaven Face Soul crystal?" Leng Shiqi asked in puzzlement. "That's right. I've had the Heaven Face Soul crystal for many years, but I've never found a way to refine it. It turns out that the correct refining method is to fuse it with the spiritual space. You actually inexplicably did it, kid. As expected, your fortune is profound." Leng Shiqi also secretly sighed in relief. Nine leaves' imagination filled in the gaps, saving him from giving a random explanation. He said respectfully, "Many thanks for Senior's understanding." Nine leaves snorted coldly and said, "Humph. Fortunately, I'm proficient in the Tao of the Soul, so I can still absorb the power of the Heavenly Face Soul crystals after entering this place. However, you owe me a favor this time." "As you command, Senior." Nine leaves said impatiently, "Okay, keep my body safe. I can see the outside world even if I stay here. Hurry up and go to Translation City. Leng Shiqi thought that he had finally passed this stage, but he could still feel that Jiuli was angry. He immediately returned his consciousness to his main body, stored 9 Leaves' physical body into the system space, and set off for Translation City. On the way to Shi City, in order to make his life easier in the future, he even passed by Shanyang City. He told 9 Leave about what he had seen, heard, and done in the past. He changed the main character and told it to 9 Leave. This included the 3 Sabres gang, Chinko Hall, the City Lord's Mansion's mutual deception, and the matter of Marquis Boiwan's tomb. While 9 Leave listened, he also gave pointers and felt that this and that should be this and that. Leng Shiqi actually felt like he was coaxing a child. The current Shanyang City could be said to be in chaos. The City Lord's mansion had withered, and the various small gangs in the city were fighting endlessly. The people were miserable. They didn't walk fast, and it wasn't until the 4th day that they arrived at Translation City. Translation City was completely different from Shanyang City. Because the fight for the illusory palace token was imminent, a large number of spirit cultivators had gathered here. It could be considered a small gathering. With such a lively scene, 9 Leave became excited. He let Leng Shiqi take him around the entire Translation City until late at night when there was no more movement on the streets. At night, Leng Shiqi was in an inn. He asked 9 Leave, "Senior, do you know about the illusory spirit's secret realm?" 9 Leave replied, "Illusory spirit's secret realm? I've never heard of it. Is it related to the illusory palace token I heard during the day? Soon, Donglin County will open the illusory spirit's secret realm. The illusory palace token is the certificate to enter the illusory spirit's secret realm." Leng Shiqi told him everything he knew about the illusory spirit's secret realm. "Oh, I'm not interested. I can't enter anyway." 9 Leave was not interested in the illusory spirit's secret realm. Leng Shiqi was stunned when he heard this. He remembered that he had thought the same thing a few days ago. "Senior, can you enter in your current state?" "Of course not. According to what you said, the secret realm is no longer very stable. The highest level a spirit cultivator can enter is the spirit pulse realm. In fact, the upper limit that the secret realm can accommodate is not the spirit power of a spirit cultivator, but the life level of a spirit cultivator." Life level? He seemed to have heard this word somewhere before. Whether it's you spirit cultivators or the demon clan, every time you level up, your life level will increase. It's just that you don't know about it. Although I'm only a rank 3 monster, my life level is still rank 7, so even if I use the method of soul possession, I won't be able to enter. Leng Shiqi nodded his head lightly. He was happy and bitter at the same time when he received such an answer. In the future, when he entered the illusory spirit's secret realm, 9 Leave would not be able to follow him in. Then, he would not have to worry about exposing his secret, but at the same time, he would lose a strong ally like 9 Leave. He knew that those who could enter the illusory spirit's secret realm were all Spirit Pulse Realm spirit cultivators, but the first level of the Spirit Pulse Realm and the 9th level of the Spirit Pulse Realm were both in the Spirit Pulse Realm. Leng Shiqi had a consummate skill that allowed him to cross a small realm to deal with Spirit Pulse Realm's 2nd and 3rd level spirit cultivators. He was confident. But how could he deal with those Spirit Pulse Realm spirit cultivators in the late stage? Could it be that he could only escape? When 9 Leave was a rank 2 monster, she was able to control more than 10 rank 3 monsters at the same time. Now that she was a rank 3 monster, ordinary Spirit Pulse Realm spirit cultivators were definitely not her match. If 9 Leave was here, then his journey in the secret realm would be much smoother. However, he was not disappointed that 9 Leave could not enter. He just needed to collect some divine illusion spirit stones. If there were any other gains, then it would be a profit. At this time, 9 Leave asked, "Why are you so concerned about this illusory spirit's secret realm?" "Because in a while, I will enter the illusory spirit's secret realm." Leng Shiqi explained. So that's how it is. You are worried that you are not strong enough." 9 Leave instantly saw through Leng Shiqi's thoughts. She continued, you are a bit belittling yourself. You have a lot of tricks up your sleeve, and your mental power is extremely strong. Before you enter the secret realm, you can cultivate some spirit techniques or illusions that can increase your strength in a short period of time. Lin Shiqi was slightly stunned. He did not expect Nine Leaf to give him pointers, and what Nine Leaf said happened to be something he had neglected. Lin Shiqi had been working hard to fuse spirit techniques for a long time. During this time, he had been thinking about how to fuse carnage with the demon pattern, but he had forgotten to develop his powerful mental power. Nine Leaves' words allowed him to find a path. He sincerely said, "Thank you, Senior, for your guidance." Chapter 233. The next day, Lin Shiqi continued to wander around the city with Nine Leaf. He was also looking for information about Lin Hui Martial Arts Dojo and found some clues. Shi City was different from Shangyang City. There were no gangs here, but there were many martial arts dojos. These martial arts dojos were basically set up by individual practitioners. They did not have any masters, nor did they pass down any powerful techniques or spiritual techniques. However, the business of these dojos was always booming. That was because the dojos could help you get started and guide you in your techniques or spiritual techniques. What loose cultivators lacked the most was not just cultivation methods and spiritual techniques, but also the guidance of others. Even if you happen to stumble upon a decent cultivation technique, but it's difficult for you to cultivate it. What's the use of that? In the dojos, as long as you paid a certain amount of money, you could receive guidance. Different dojos were good at different aspects, so there would always be one that was suitable for you. When Lin Shiqi heard this, he was secretly amazed at how good they were at doing business. This was a business without any cost. There were 3 most famous and powerful dojos in Shi City, and Lin Hui Martial Arts Dojo was one of them. At the same time, Lin Hui, who was in the spiritual pulse realm, was also a popular candidate for the illusory palace token. Lin Shiqi's mission was to assassinate Lin Hui's only son, Lin Ying. Everyone knew that Lin Hui loved his only son very much. At this critical time, someone wanted Lin Ying dead. No one would believe that it had nothing to do with the illusory palace token. He guessed that the employer might be one of the other 2 dojos, Li Clan Dojo or Su Clan Dojo. After finding out the location of the Lin Hui Martial Arts Dojo, Lin Shiqi walked around the dojo and opened up the map of the dojo. Nine Leaves said, "Is there a need to go through so much trouble? With your strength, even if you rush in and kill Lin Ying, you can still escape unscathed." Lin Shiqi shook his head and said, "I can do that, but aren't you curious? Lin Hui is one of the most popular candidates for the illusory palace token, so why would someone want to assassinate his son? If his son is dead, will Lin Hui not participate in the fight for the illusory palace token? Furthermore, if I kill Lin Ying, I have to go back and submit the mission. No, I'm not done yet." Lin Shiqi chuckled inwardly. This great demon who had lived for hundreds of years still had a childish attitude. Then, Lin Shiqi closed his eyes and opened them again. His eyes instantly turned green and white. Byakugan, open. With the help of the Byakugan and the Hand of Earth, Lin Shiqi was able to sneak into the Lin Hui dojo in broad daylight without anyone noticing. In a secluded courtyard of Lin Hui Martial Arts Club, a servant carried a small lunchbox into the courtyard. Ha! Ha! As soon as he entered the courtyard, he heard shouts coming from the courtyard, but he was already used to it. He walked straight to the stone table in the courtyard and put the lunch box on it. Only then did he turn his head to look at the boy who was still hitting the wooden stake. The young man looked to be about 16 or 17 years old. His entire body was soaked in sweat. Even the ground was wet with sweat. However, the young man continued to hit the wooden stake resolutely. He did not even notice the servant coming in. The servant's eyes revealed some ridicule as he muttered softly, "Trash will always be trash. What's the use of working hard? And wasting so many resources for nothing? He's just lucky." After he finished speaking, he walked out of the courtyard. What he did not know was that under the shadow of the corner of the courtyard, there was a person hiding. Senior 9 Leave, what do you think of Lin Ying's situation? Ling Shiqi asked. 9 Leave did not answer immediately. After a few breaths, she said, it's a little strange. Lin Ying's cultivation talent is actually not bad. He opened up his sea of qi and reached the pure spirit realm 2 years ago. However, there is a strange force in his body that is constantly devouring his spirit energy. So no matter how hard he cultivates, he will always be at the first level of the pure spirit realm. Ling Shiqi nodded when he heard this. He could also see that there was a problem with the spirit energy in Lin Ying's body through the supercilious eyes, but he could not see it so thoroughly. He said, in other words, he has been cultivating hard for the past 2 years and consumed a lot of resources. The spirit energy he cultivates has actually been plundered. You can say that. Ling Shiqi said thoughtfully. As a result, he ended up with the title of trash. He broke through to the pure spirit realm 2 years ago, which is considered pretty good among loose cultivators, so he should have been flattered by quite a few people. From a high place, he suddenly fell into the abyss. It's rare that he can still maintain such a firm will to cultivate. 9 Leaves said curiously, what, you're a soft-hearted killer? That's not it, I'm just a little curious. Senior, can you see where the power in his body comes from? 9 Leaves said after sensing for a while, It seems to be the ring on his right index finger. Oh. Ling Shiqi's face showed a look of interest. From a little genius to trash, being discriminated against by others, and having a ring that absorbs his spirit energy? Was there an old grandpa hidden in this ring? The more Ling Shiqi thought about it, the more he felt that it was possible, so he decided to test it out first. Immediately, Ling Shiqi quietly floated up to the ground. He stretched out his finger and lightly pointed, sending out an invisible sword qi. This pulse unblocking sword qi was used with his spirit pulse realm cultivation. If it hit, it would definitely take Lin Ying's life. He was testing. If it was as he expected, then Lin Ying was hiding a secret and would definitely not die so easily. Of course, if he guessed wrong, he would complete the task. Anyway, he did not lose anything. The invisible pulse unblocking sword qi tore through the sky and shot towards Lin Ying's back. However, just as the sword qi was about to reach him, a gray gas suddenly rose from Lin Ying's back. The gray gas wrapped the pulse unblocking sword qi and the sword qi dissipated on its own. Sure enough. At this time, Lin Ying stopped and turned his head to look. He seemed to have felt a burst of air behind him, but when he turned his head, there was nothing. 9 Leaves said solemnly, he has a part of a remnant soul in him. Remnant soul? It must be a secret escape technique used by some powerful cultivator before he died. He sealed a part of his remnant soul in the ring and waited for the opportunity to find a way to be reborn. Ling Shiqi could not help but be surprised. Reborn. Is it so mysterious? 9 Leaves said disdainfully, ignorant. The means of those powerful cultivators are far beyond your imagination. However, there is only a remnant soul in Lin Ying's ring. There is no possibility of it being reborn. He is very likely to use Lin Ying to find other remnant souls and then plot to be reborn. Unfortunately, he met me. Chapter 234. Ling Shiqi, help me lure him out and let me swallow him. After this is done, I will lend you a portion of my power before you enter the illusory spirit's secret realm. 9 Leaves' words rang in Ling Shiqi's mind and instantly moved him. There was only a month left before he entered the illusory spirit's secret realm. In such a short period of time, he believed that it was impossible for him to make a breakthrough in his cultivation. In the spirit pulse realm, not only did a spirit cultivator have to accumulate a large amount of spirit energy, but if he wanted to break through to the second level of the spirit pulse realm, he had to open another spirit pulse. In a short period of time, his cultivation would not be able to advance any further, and there were many people with higher cultivation than him in the illusory spirit's secret realm. If he had a portion of 9 Leaves' power, he would have some confidence. Leng Shiqi immediately agreed as thoughts flashed through his mind. How should I lure him out? Also, does the employer know about this? Will he get involved? At night, the exhausted Lin Ying walked into the bedroom. After he tidied up, he sat on the bed and prepared to cultivate. However, suddenly, Lin Ying's eyes widened. On the chair opposite him, there was a figure sitting there at some unknown time. Lin Ying was just about to shout when the other party spoke. It was an old voice. If you want to die, just shout. Lin Ying immediately covered his mouth. Although he was young, he was not stupid. Since the other party could enter his room without alerting anyone, he could naturally kill him before anyone arrived. Especially since he had experienced countless human emotions in the past 2 years. At this moment, he forcefully suppressed the fear in his heart and said, "Who are you?" Leng Shiqi said indifferently, "I am the person who is here to kill you." You? Lin Ying was shocked, but in the next moment, he could not speak because a large hand had already grabbed his neck. At this moment, Lin Ying also saw that the person who grabbed his neck was an old man. Leng Shiqi said gloomily, "The heavens have the virtue of cherishing life. This old man does not want to commit murder, but you have provoked someone you should not have provoked. As the saying goes, every injustice has its perpetrator, and every debt has its debtor. Don't blame this old man when you're down there." Lin Ying grabbed Leng Shiqi's arm with both hands and struggled. Unfortunately, Leng Shiqi had also cultivated the 9 nether mageweth and had absorbed a large amount of spiritual energy from the spirit spring to refine his body. After breaking through to the spirit vein realm, he had undergone a complete transformation, and his body's strength had increased by another level. Even if he only used the strength of his body, he was comparable to a spirit cultivator at the late stage of the pure spirit realm. Lin Ying was naturally wasting her energy. Lin Ying knew that she could not escape from Leng Shiqi. She said, "Li Wan. Did Li Wan send you to kill me?" Leng Shiqi found the name familiar. He thought for a moment before remembering that Li Wan was the curator of the Li family dojo. This might be a conflict between the two schools, but Leng Shiqi was not interested in this. He slowly increased the strength of his hand. Lin Ying's face turned red, her eyes widened, and blue veins popped out. She was about to be strangled to death by Leng Shiqi. However, the thing that Leng Shiqi was looking forward to did not appear. Still not coming out? Leng Shiqi snorted. He formed a sword with his fingers and pierced Lin Ying's abdomen with invisible sword qi. Inside, was his qi si. At the same time, he thought, if you still don't come out, you can wait for the next host when he is crippled. Sure enough, just as the sword qi was about to pierce through Lin Ying's qi si, the gray gas appeared again and covered Lin Ying's entire body. At the same time, Leng Shiqi also felt an evil energy pushing him away. Leng Shiqi's expression froze. The force just now was not very strong, but it was still the power of the spirit vein realm. When the gray qi dissipated, Lin Ying was still standing in the same place. However, his eyes had turned gray, and there was a trace of resentment in them. Leng Shiqi pretended not to know and exclaimed, "What are you?" Lin Ying said stiffly, "Scram, or die." At the same time, Nine Leave also spoke in Leng Shiqi's spiritual world, "Don't let him possess Lin Ying's body. Find a way to force him out." Leng Shiqi's mind moved and waves of extremely cold air spread out from his feet. Suddenly, the entire room was frozen. The temperature in the room plummeted, but it did not affect the two people in the room. Leng Shiqi did this because he was afraid that the old grandpa would run away. Then, Lin Ying moved her hands and quickly formed a spiritual seal. A cloud of gray smoke formed an oval-shaped formation in front of him, and streams of evil gray smoke swarmed towards him. Leng Shiqi pulled out the Qing Lin saber from his waist and slashed. Hundreds of light green saber lights instantly fell down like torrential rain. The saber lights cut through all the gray gas. Countless waves of energy surged out and broke the ice. Lin Ying prepared to do something again, but Leng Shiqi did not want to give her another chance. He held the Qing Lin saber's hilt and the blade drew a full green moon in front of him. The full green moon formed by the saber lights looked magnificent, but it was filled with unimaginable sharpness. Full moon light slash. The saber lights tore through the night and tore apart Lin Ying's array. The endless saber lights were about to completely devour Lin Ying. At this moment, Lin Ying's body suddenly went limp. Then a cloud of gray gas appeared and formed the appearance of a ferocious old man. The old man's face was filled with evil. He opened his mouth and was about to say something, but at this moment, a green shadow suddenly jumped out from between Leng Shiqi's eyebrows. That was Nine Leaves' spiritual body. The old man was shocked when he saw Nine Leaf, but the next moment, Nine Leaf turned into a cloud of green light and swallowed him. According to what Nine Leaf said, the old man was just a remnant soul of an expert, and Nine Leaf was a genuine level 7 great demon. In front of Nine Leaf, the old man's remnant soul could not resist at all and was completely swallowed by Nine Leaf. Nine Leaf's spiritual body turned into a human form again. She wiped the corner of her mouth and burped, but she looked a little sleepy. Then, she returned to the spiritual illusion world. Leng Shiqi's full moon light slash also chopped off Lin Ying's head, but the saber lights did not slow down and cut through the ice layer and collapsed the wall. A green full moon suddenly rose from Lin Ying's small courtyard. Countless sharp saber lights wreaked havoc, and in an instant, the entire small courtyard was destroyed beyond recognition. Leng Shiqi picked up Lin Ying's head and wrapped it up. He secretly sighed that Lin Ying was also a person with a hard life. According to his original trajectory, he might not become a famous expert in the future, but it would not be a problem for him to inherit the Lin Hui Martial Arts Club. It could be considered as a foundation for him to establish himself. However, ever since he got that ring, he was destined to have a bad ending. Even if he did not die in the hands of Leng Shiqi today, he would die in the hands of that remnant soul in the future, and it might be even worse. Such a big commotion in Lin Ying's courtyard quickly attracted a large number of people in the martial arts club. Especially the curator, Lin Hui. Lin Hui was a very serious person, but this was the courtyard of his most beloved son, so he was naturally the most concerned. It was rare for him to be worried and uneasy as he rushed here as fast as he could. However, when he hurried over, all he saw was Lin Ying's headless corpse. Lin Hui rushed in and picked up Lin Ying's corpse. As the saying goes, men do not cry easily, but this father who established the Lin Hui Martial Arts Club instantly burst into tears. After a while, he muttered weakly, just you wait. Father will avenge you. Chapter 235. Lin Hui carried Lin Ying's headless body and walked out silently. The crowd silently opened up a path for him to pass through. They were basically servants and apprentices of the martial arts club. They all knew that Lin Ying was extremely important to Lin Hui, even more important than the martial arts club. Otherwise, he would not have tried his best to find countless elixirs for Lin Ying to help him solve his cultivation problems. But now, Lin Ying was dead. This was his only son, his only hope, and now he was dead. But Lin Hui did not go crazy or roar. He just carried Lin Ying out of the small courtyard without saying a word. To everyone's surprise, Lin Hui's aura was like a volcano about to erupt. In an instant, the spiritual energy within a few feet of him flowed into his body like a whirlpool. At this moment, Lin Hui broke through to the 7th level of the spiritual pulse realm in a state of extreme sorrow. But Lin Hui did not show any joy. He still carried Lin Ying and walked away. No one knew where he was going. Leng Shiqi, who was hiding in the dark, saw all of this. He whispered to himself, if Lin Hui did not give up fighting for the illusory palace token, we might meet again in the illusory spirit's secret realm. However, Nine Leaf did not pay attention to him at this time. Because Nine Leaf fell into a deep sleep after devouring the old man's remnant soul. Before Nine Leaf fell into a deep sleep, she said that she would not sleep for too long this time. She would wake up tomorrow at the latest. She also told Leng Shiqi to wait for her to wake up and watch the fight for the illusory palace token. In fact, Leng Shiqi's task was now completed. He planned to return after the fight for the illusory palace token came to an end. Now that he saw Lin Hui's unexpected breakthrough, he seemed to have seen the outcome. Because according to the news he heard, the other two club masters were only at the 6th level of the spiritual pulse realm. Originally, these three people had the same cultivation and were the most advantageous competitors for the illusory palace token. However, Lin Hui's breakthrough broke the original pattern and also broke the suspense. Lin Shiqi thought to himself, if my employer knows about this, will he regret it? In his opinion, the reason why his employer wanted to kill Lin Ying was that he did not know about the old man's remnant soul. He simply wanted Lin Ying's death to affect Lin Hui's emotions and thoughts. Thus, Lin Hui would not be able to display his full combat strength or give up the fight for the illusory palace token. However, it was obvious that the employer had underestimated Lin Hui. Moreover, now that Lin Hui had broken through to the 7th level of the spiritual pulse realm, he would not easily give up the fight for the illusory palace token. Thinking of this, Lin Shiqi shook his head and returned to the inn. On the afternoon of the second day, Nine Leave woke up. After Nine Leave woke up, he immediately said to Lin Shiqi, the remnant soul I absorbed is not simple. Lin Shiqi's interest was piqued. To be called not simple by Nine Leave, that person must not be weaker than her. Nine Leave said, I devoured a wisp of this person's remnant soul, which increased my soul power by quite a bit. I also absorbed a portion of this person's fragmented memories. This person is an evil sect spirit cultivator from hundreds of years ago. In terms of cultivation, he is comparable to me. Even though Lin Shiqi had guessed it, he could not help but feel a wave in his heart. Moreover, he had always had a question, so he took the opportunity to ask, Senior Nine Leave, you are a 7th level great monster. What is the equivalent realm of a spirit cultivator? Lin Shiqi knew that a 6th level monster was equivalent to a spirit cultivator in the unity of heaven and man realm, but what cultivation level did a 7th level great monster correspond to? For example, Imperial Beast House's Southern Cloud Gate, Blood Beast Sect Xiapengyu, the three highest level leaders of the Blood Cloth Pavilion, and Lin Shiqi's Elder Mu and Elder Gu. What were the cultivation levels of these people? Nine Leave said, Kid, you have just stepped into the 4 realms of heaven and man and you want to know the higher realms? Junior is just curious. Forget it, your Blood Cloth Pavilion must have people in this realm. You can ask around and find out, so there is no harm in me telling you. The realm above the 4 realms of heaven and man is the Sky Origin Realm. Sky Origin Realm? There are very few spirit cultivators in the Sky Origin Realm. They can already borrow a part of the power of heaven and earth. As long as these experts are willing, they can establish a powerful sect. Hiss. Lin Shiqi secretly sucked in a breath of air. Borrowing the power of heaven and earth? No matter how strong a person was, how could it compare to the power of heaven and earth? No wonder Elder Mu and Elder Gu could fly. He could not help but yearn for it. However, Nine Leave said, don't think too much about it. You are too far away from that realm. Don't bite off more than you can chew. With your talent and ability, if you cultivate honestly, it is possible for you to reach that step in the future. Lin Shiqi was shocked and said sincerely, thank you for your reminder, Senior Nine Leave. Nine Leave's words not only broadened his horizons, but also enlightened him. The path of cultivation was long. He had to firmly walk down one step at a time. Only then could he walk higher and higher. Nine Leave said, you brat, you are still pretending to be innocent. However, this time you helped me draw out that remnant soul, which benefited me a lot. I can't treat you unfairly. Lin Shiqi knew that he had completed Nine Leave's mission. Before he entered the illusory spirit's secret realm, Nine Leave would lend him a part of his power. However, Nine Leave changed his words and said, let's talk about borrowing your power later. I sorted out a complete spiritual skill from that person's memory fragments. It should be very suitable for you. Lin Shiqi was slightly stunned. Nine Leave had indeed said that the fastest way for him to increase his strength was to cultivate spiritual skills. However, spiritual skills had always been extremely precious and difficult to obtain. Now, someone had actually sent him a pillow when he was tired. Nine Leaf asked pointedly, "Do you want this spiritual skill or my power?" According to common sense, ordinary people would naturally choose to obtain a part of Nine Leaf's power. This was a way to increase one's strength in a short period of time. Not many people could resist the temptation of this power. Choosing a spiritual skill was choosing to believe in one's own power. After successfully cultivating it, this power would forever belong to oneself. However, at the same time, the cultivation of a spiritual skill was not that simple. Nine Leaf wanted to see what choice Ling Shiqi would make. However, Ling Shiqi did not hesitate and directly said, "Senior, I want the spiritual skill." Ling Shiqi's quick decision surprised Nine Leaf. Not long ago, Ling Shiqi especially wanted a part of her power. Why didn't he want it now? However, Nine Leaf did not get to the bottom of it. Instead, he wrote this spiritual skill's secret book in Ling Shiqi's illusory spirit world. 4th level spiritual skill, Evil Sky Crying Curse. Chapter 236. After obtaining the Evil Sky Wailing Curse, Ling Shiqi directly tried to cultivate it. Of course, he was just pretending. In reality, he had already used his unlimited skill points to cultivate the Evil Sky Wailing Curse to the Great Perfection realm. He also knew that the Evil Sky Wailing Curse was a very evil and could even be said to be a very vicious spiritual technique. When cultivating this spiritual technique, one had to capture some boys and girls, provoke their negative emotions and absorb them. Even if the young boys and girls had negative emotions, they were still very pure. What the cultivator wanted was this kind of pure negative emotion. Furthermore, if he wanted to cultivate this spiritual skill to a higher realm, he would need to capture more young boys and girls. Although Ling Shiqi's hands were stained with blood, if he were to use the virgin boys and girls to cultivate this spiritual technique, he might not be able to do it. Luckily, he had unlimited skill points and could directly cultivate it. But like this, Ling Shiqi could not easily use this technique in front of Nine Leaf because Nine Leaf also knew the method to cultivate the Evil Sky Wailing Curse. So he could only use Nine Leaf's sleep as an excuse to say that he had cultivated this technique. The next day, Ling Shiqi and Nine Leaf went to the place that Translation City had prepared for the illusory palace token. When they arrived, there was already a sea of people. Before they even got close, they could already hear the sounds of people. Ling Shiqi even saw several tents set up at the edge of the crowd. There was even a gambling house inside. This meant that he was not sure if Lin Hui would come, otherwise he would have bet on it. Then Ling Shiqi spent a bit of effort to squeeze into the crowd. Only then did he see that there were 2 large arenas. Moreover, there was an array on the ground of the arenas. Those who had the qualifications to compete for the illusory palace token were all Spirit Pulse Realm cultivators. The sound of a battle between Spirit Pulse Realm cultivators was not small and they needed an array to not injure the audience. At this moment, a cry of surprise came from the crowd. Ling Shiqi turned his head and saw Lin Hui expressionlessly walking over with his martial arts club members. The news of Lin Ying's death had already spread throughout Shi City in the past 2 days. This had also become the topic of conversation for many people after their meals. They were all guessing who the culprit was and whether Lin Hui would still come to compete for the illusory palace token. After all, Lin Ying's body had not yet turned cold, and it was said that the funeral had not yet been held. However, Lin Hui still came. Ling Shiqi, the murderer, was very magnanimous and did not feel burdened. First of all, he was only following orders. He could be considered as a knife in someone else's hand. Even if he did not come, there would be other killers coming to kill Lin Ying. The difference was that the average assassin in black might really fall into the hands of Lin Ying. The old man's remnant soul was not strong, far from the demon spirit, but it was not weak either. It was comparable to a spirit cultivator at the early stage of the Spirit Pulse realm. If not for the fact that Nine Leaf could directly devour him, Ling Shiqi would have to go through a lot of trouble to get rid of him. If the black-clothed assassin failed, then the star level of the mission might be raised, and there would be blood-clothed assassins coming. Of course, the employer's reward would also be raised accordingly. In the end, Lin Ying would still die in the hands of other assassins. Secondly, even if no one hired an assassin, Lin Ying's body would still be taken over by the old man's remnant soul sooner or later. At this moment, Lin Shiqi appeared here with his true appearance. Lin Hui never thought that the murderer of his son would pass by him. Not long after, the battle for the illusory palace token began. The rules were very simple. The two arenas opened at the same time, and the final two arena masters would enter the finals to fight it out. The winner would be able to obtain the illusory palace token to enter the illusory spirit's secret realm. Lin Shiqi and Nine Leave watched the battles with interest, but the two of them paid attention to completely different things. Lin Shiqi carefully observed every battle, the fighting methods of the spirit pulse realm cultivators and the use of spirit power. Although these people were rogue cultivators, those who could step into the spirit pulse realm were not simple. Almost everyone had something hidden in their chests. This also made Lin Shiqi more familiar with the battles between the spirit pulse realm cultivators. He even inspired a few of them and benefited a lot. As for Nine Leave, she was purely watching the show. In her eyes, these battles between the spirit pulse realm cultivators were simply small fights. There was nothing to see. At first, she was a little interested, but later, she became bored. And when Lin Hui revealed his Spirit Pulse Realm's 7th level cultivation, it shocked everyone. The result was no surprise. Lin Hui finally obtained the Illusory Palace token. He obtained the qualifications to enter the Illusory Spirit Realm. This matter naturally caused a heated discussion in the translation city, but all of this had nothing to do with Lin Shiqi, because he had already embarked on his return journey. This trip to Interpreter City was originally an unexpected move, but he still had quite a lot of gains, far exceeding his expectations. After returning to the pavilion to hand in the mission, Lin Shiqi received the corresponding reward, which included 40 blood drops. He looked at his 190 blood drops and hesitated for a moment before walking to the long counter at the side of the hall. This was the place to exchange blood drops for resources. A gray-clothed odd job disciple came forward and asked, "Sir, what do you want to exchange for?" Lin Shiqi replied, "I want to see spirit techniques." "Yes, sir, but you are a black-clothed assassin, so you can only look at 3rd level and below spirit techniques." Hearing this, Lin Shiqi was a little helpless. He was clearly in the spirit pulse realm, but because he did not have enough blood drops, he was still a black-clothed assassin. In the blood-clothing pavilion, black-clothed assassins were only outer sect disciples and did not have much authority. And in order to increase his strength as much as possible before entering the illusory spirit realm, Lin Shiqi could only exchange blood drops for spirit techniques. So he could only help Feng Shamo collect more divine fantasy spirit stones in the illusory spirit realm. Then Lin Shiqi used 180 blood drops to exchange for a 3rd level spirit technique, Thunder Destruction Array. And for the next period of time, Lin Shiqi did missions to accumulate blood drops, and also took 9 leave to see the world. At the same time, he gained a lot of experience. And he also developed the habit of looking at the system store every day. Unfortunately, those products were either useless to him or he could not afford them. After a month, they had already explored more than half of Donglin County. On this day, when Lin Shiqi returned to the pavilion, he was greeted by a blood-clothed assassin. "Lin Shiqi, Grand Pavilion Leader summons me." Lin Shiqi's heart skipped a beat. He knew that Feng Shamo must have summoned him about the illusory spirit realm. Then he came to the stone hall where Feng Shamo was, but to his surprise, there was another person here, Bing Shang. Chapter 237. When Bing Shang saw Lin Shiqi enter, he was also surprised. He obviously did not expect Lin Shiqi to come. Lin Shiqi cupped his fists and said, "Greetings, Grand Pavilion Leader." Feng Shamo said with his hands behind his back, "The two of you will enter the illusory spirit secret realm together, so you can take care of each other." It's just that our pavilion will arrange different identities for you. At this point, Feng Shamo pointed to the two big boxes on the table and said, Ling Shiqi, you will enter the illusory spirit's secret realm as a rogue cultivator, and Bing Shang will enter as a disciple of a third-rate force. The boxes are prepared for you to hide your identities. Ling Shiqi and Bing Shang walked forward and saw their names on the boxes. Ling Shiqi first opened his box, which contained some clothes and other personal belongings. What was worth mentioning was that there was an illusory palace token. Ling Shiqi also found it interesting. He never thought that he would enter the illusory spirit's secret realm with an illusory palace token. As for where this illusory palace token came from, it was nothing more than snatching it or buying it. In addition, there was an exquisite mask and a thick stack of paper. On it was the life of a person called Zhua Qiuyu. Feng Shamo said, when you go back, you must remember everything. In the illusory spirit's secret realm, you are no longer the Ling Shiqi and Bing Shang of the Blood Robe Pavilion. Of course, you can't use any of your signature techniques in front of outsiders. Do you understand? Disciple understands. Ling Shiqi and Bing Shang replied in unison. They knew that the disciples of the Blood Robe Pavilion could not participate in the secret realm. If their identities were exposed, it would bring great trouble to the Blood Robe Pavilion. Ling Shiqi recalled that in the battle at the Golden Wing Academy, he had used chaotic flower gradually mesmerizing eyes, half moon light slash, devouring light flying dagger, and earth fiend demon claw. Then, these techniques could not be used easily in the illusory spirit's secret realm. Even the jade sword could not be taken out. After all, there were quite a few Spirit Pulse realm cultivators in the Golden Wing Academy back then. They could all enter the illusory spirit realm and be easily recognized. Ling Shiqi thought to himself, luckily, I know a lot of spiritual techniques, so it shouldn't be a problem to hide my identity. I just don't know what Bing Shang will do. He turned his head slightly to look at Bing Shang. He saw that Bing Shang was still very calm, like a block of ice. He must have a way. Feng Shamo took out 2 pendants and said, one for each of you. As long as you're within 5 kilometers, you'll be able to sense each other's location. Go back and familiarize yourself with your identities first. Tomorrow, you will set off on your own to the location stated in the intelligence report. Someone will come to pick you up. Yes, disciple will take his leave. The two left the stone hall together. Ling Shiqi was about to leave when Bing Shang said, You've changed a lot. Ling Shiqi didn't know if Bing Shang was talking about the change in his body shape or his cultivation, or maybe both. Bing Shang added, If there's a chance, let's spar. It's my pleasure. Ling Shiqi replied. He also remembered that Bing Shang had said the same thing in the Golden Wing Academy. However, Ling Shiqi rarely stayed in the pavilion after that. He hadn't seen Bing Shang many times, so naturally, he didn't have a chance to spar with him. Bing Shang was a genius cultivated by the Blood Clothing Pavilion in the Donglin County branch. He had always been valued. Ling Shiqi was looking forward to fighting with him. At this moment, an idea suddenly flashed in his mind. He had always been a little confused about why Feng Shamo wanted him to enter the illusory spirit's secret realm. There were many blood clothing assassins in the late stage of the spiritual pulse realm in the Donglin County branch. Since Feng Shamo wanted the divine illusion spirit stone, wouldn't it be better to send those in the late stage of the spiritual pulse realm? If he had to say that he valued his identity as the winner of the Blood Fog Island, it would make sense. But today, he found out that Bing Shang, a genius from the Blood Clothing Pavilion, had also entered the illusory spirit's secret realm. That was a little thought-provoking. Ling Shiqi remembered that the previous pavilion leader had mentioned that Feng Shamo came to the Donglin County branch with an ulterior motive. Originally, he thought that Feng Shamo was here to gain reputation and merit. Then, Feng Shamo destroyed 2 third-rate forces in a row, which indeed proved this point. But now, it seemed that it wasn't that simple. Ling Shiqi's thoughts turned quickly, and he suddenly thought of a possibility. Feng Shamo wants to cultivate his own team. According to his speculation, Feng Shamo, as the pavilion leader's personal disciple, was one of the candidates to succeed the position of pavilion leader in the future. To succeed the position of pavilion leader, not only did one need to have strength, but also reputation and the support of one's own team. Now, the most promising people in the Donglin County branch were undoubtedly Leng Shiqi and Bing Shang, so they were chosen to enter the illusory spirit's secret realm. After all, the illusory spirit's secret realm was a place full of opportunities. It was a great favor to be able to enter. Feng Shamo was actually using this method to recruit them. After understanding this, Leng Shiqi returned to his stone room and called out to Nine Leave in his mind. Senior Nine Leave. What's wrong? Nine Leave's tone sounded very relaxed and happy. It seemed that she was in a good mood. Senior, I will be leaving for the illusory spirit's secret realm tomorrow. Leng Shiqi's meaning was, where should Nine Leave go? Nine Leave said indifferently, you can go. I can just walk around by myself. Hearing this, Leng Shiqi's mouth couldn't help but twitch. After this period of time, he knew that Nine Leave was not an easy person to deal with. If she went out alone, she might cause some trouble. Moreover, her demonic aura could be sensed by spirit cultivators with higher cultivation realms. If there was a demon extermination assembly, it would be a good show. Nine Leaves seemed to be able to see through people's hearts. She teased, what? Are you worried about my safety? Leng Shiqi could only nod, Senior's cultivation has not recovered yet. It's better to be careful. Humph, you don't have to worry about this. Go to your secret realm. I will leave an imprint on your body. When you come out, just follow the imprint to find me. Release my main body. Next, Leng Shiqi left the branch and released Nine Leaves' main body from the system space in a secluded place. Immediately, Nine Leaves' soul returned to her main body and spat out a purple mist that entered Leng Shiqi's body. Leng Shiqi was stunned. Senior, this is? No matter which secret realm it is, not only are there opportunities, there are also endless dangers. Don't die inside, or I will suffer a great loss. My demonic power can allow you to have strength comparable to the late stage of the spirit pulse realm for an incense stick of time. Use it carefully. Don't say thank you, Senior. When you come out, help me do something. Before Nine Leave finished his words, he left directly. You're tuning in to the A Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.